to the chess club.
Good morning, everybody, or afternoon, or evening, or wherever you are. Hello, one and all. Hi, I've missed you. Oh, it's been 10 years if it's been a day. Hi, everybody. So today marks a momentous occasion, a bizarre day in the books of whatever weird story we're a part of here. We are co-streaming on YouTube and on Twitch. So wherever you want to watch, you can watch. So we've got people in Twitch chat. We got Hairbrine, Jelly Goo, Banky, Whippy Ice, Jacob Ray, Big PP, Big PPTP. That's funny. All of you guys over in Twitch chat. That's awesome. And then we got Martin, YK, Shocker, Lucid, Apterai, Tanner, Nashman, Refnir. I've tons of people in YouTube as well. So this is lovely. Join wherever you want to watch. Hang out with us wherever you prefer. I'm just glad you are here. Just as a point just of housekeeping before we get into all this stuff today, I don't know if certain things are broken in terms of notifications or audio and stuff. So if we change scenes and all of a sudden audio isn't working, or like somebody is crazy enough to do like a super chat or like a tip through Streamlabs or something, if the notification doesn't go off, tell me, because we're using Streamlabs for the first time in like a year. So things might have broken since the last time we did this. So just let me know. Be patient with me, okay? Oh no, user. Boys, I failed my driving test. Please comfort me. I'll tell you, the first time I did my driving test, the guy was like kind of, I don't know if he was like kind of a sadist. He liked watching teenagers squirm, which now that I say it out loud sounds horrible, but he liked to get you in your driving test to the point where you thought you had failed. So the whole time I'm going, I would like take a turn a little tight and go, and then mark it. And like he did that 10 times through the test. And at the end of it, he was like, so you had 2 out of 3 infractions. Third, I could make a big deal about, but I'll let it slide. But I was like, dude, you've been giving me a heart attack this whole time. Like, it seemed like he liked it. What did he do, Luke? Tell the jury. I need one of those dolls to help. Link the background music happily. This is the Red Dead Redemption 2 relaxing ambient music list. I'll drop this in both chats, so whoever wants to check it out. Oh, I have to agree to chat rules on Twitch real quick. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Lord Chu, oh, you're Tanner. It's good to see you, my friend. I'm glad you popped over there too. I thought there was a way I could change and like add a nickname to certain people, but apparently not. Probacus, thank you. It seems to have worked. So that works.
Probacus donated $3. This is a test.
Yeah, by the way, if you go over to Twitch and you do the donation link directly, it doesn't put that $5 limit for text to speech. Somebody's at my front door. Sean, also shout out 10 months of support, 10-month membership. Don't stress it. It doesn't say how many times you fail when you get your license. Exactly. No, and like those real estate brokerage license tests, dude, those kicked my butt. I mean, that took me a couple tries. I think it was the state one. The state one, I think, is the one that was tricky. The national was really generic and kind of straightforward, but the state one was weirdly difficult. Very, very specific. Like, it's just weird. Okay. Point of reference. The text scaling is a little off. That's fine.
There is now a red flag. Don't stress it. It doesn't say how many.
Oh, that's cool. It
times
actually
you
reads
fail
it.
when you get your license.
Exactly. Hey, if it works, it works. Oh, I forgot we do have the spam folder emote. Jade, I forgot we had that. I think I need to add that on Twitch.
Bezos.
Thank you. Bezos will be happy. Yes, everybody, if you're on Twitch now, if you have Primes and you want the perks of like membership on YouTube, but you have Amazon Prime and you want to just use your free Prime, you can do it that way. So I just got a notification saying we've encountered an error with the output. It says we're still live though, so let me know if we're not live. That's weird. It like popped up and said we've detected an error with the output. I hit OK, but it seems to still be working, so I guess we'll just go with it. This is clearly pre-recorded, obviously. You got me. I even knew you were going to say that, so I'm saying this now in advance. It's getting real meta real quick, I'll tell you what. Sean, thank you also. Sean gifted 5 memberships over on YouTube. Shout out to Sean. Poggers. Oh, is there not a sound effect associated with the gifted memberships? Oops. We'll fix that too. Now it's going to go through each of them. Shout out Sean. Poggers. Sean always comes in here clutch. People always ask that on Star Citizen's official streams, if it's live or not. A part of it, like, I understand if you're watching like a streamer who's pretending to talk to chat, if it's pre-recorded, that sucks. But like for corporate events, I don't understand. Like, people were pissed off that Apple's events have been pre-recorded and that they're putting those out pre-recorded. I'm like, who cares? Like, the fun of it, I guess, is that it's live. Anything could happen. They could screw up or make a mistake or something. But really, who cares? Like, who cares? There's pre-recorded streamers. Well, like PewDiePie, I don't know if he still does it on Twitch, but PewDiePie had a thing for like, I think at least 6 months where he had a Twitch channel and he just ran reruns of all of his YouTube videos on a loop. That's all he did, was just on a loop. He would just play the videos. And it's not a bad idea, honestly, but what are you going to do? YouTuber Big Fry TV has the Todd Howard cutout too. I actually pulled Todd out of the garage. Where did I put him? Here he is. There we go. I think anybody who makes YouTube videos or streams and talks about God Howard should have the cutout. I am ordering also new bookshelves and stuff. This entire back wall is going to be new shelving, and it's going to be nice. Like the Titanic can fit on its own shelf, and it's going to be a lot bigger. I think it's going to look nice. Maybe we'll do a shelf building stream. Just fully lean into mindless content. I've heard that is the play, though. People are like, even if it sounds stupid and like no one would ever want to watch it, you'd be surprised. Like there was a huge streamer recently, and they were streaming themselves like washing the dishes or something, and it was like something more specific though. It was like trying to get rust off of my old pan or something like that. And they had like 15,000 viewers. I was like, what is happening? I just need to open it up. Any plans with the family tomorrow? Yeah, we have a couple of like community trick-or-treating things. It's been like 15 degrees outside recently. So, and like at night with the wind chill, it feels like -10. So I don't think we'll take the boys out if the weather stays like that on Halloween night and go door to door trick-or-treating. It just seems like it could go bad. Like we're in a nice neighborhood, and so it wouldn't necessarily be the end of the world, but we're going to keep an eye on it. But during the day, they have a bunch of like community trick-or-treating things where everybody goes to like the center of town, and you go to all of the shops, and each of the shop owners is giving out candy to the kids and stuff like that. I'll actually show you a picture, because we took Lockie and Ori out to do it. Lockie dressed up like a firefighter, and Orion... Do you guys remember Cammy? Do any of you OGs remember Cammy? When we did like Knit Grit and all of those shows and things and videos on the channel together. You guys remember Cammy? She gave us a Pikachu onesie for Lockie when he was born. And of course he outgrew it, but now we have another kid who can fit in it. And so we put Ori in it. And he was so freaking cute as we walked around. He's all bundled up. It was very, very cold. I feel like such a boomer doing this, but yeah, no, he was a comfy little fella. I'll tell you what, it was so sweet.
Gabriel Patsaurus is now a red flag.
Gabriel, thank you. Yeah, he had a good time. Trick-or-treating is always just so much fun. I mean, it's so much fun. It's a good time. Granted, he can't eat the candy because he's a baby, but he did enjoy seeing people and hearing Lachlan scream, "Trick or treat." He thought that was very funny every time it happened. Very, very funny. Oh shoot, Sean. Jesus Christ. Sean coming in with a 200 Australian dollar due super chat. 10 months of membership. Wow. Longtime watcher, listener. It really is crazy how much time has gone by. Like, just in the last month or so, we've had a bunch of people with 10, 11, 12 month. I think 12 is the max, actually, because we moved over to YouTube after that. But yeah, it's very humbling. It's crazy. The fact that you guys are still wanting to hang out with me like this for long periods of time is just wild to me. I'm very thankful. It's extremely humbling. I'm just, every time, wow. There it is. Now it pops off. Sophie, good to see you. Hey, Luke, what's the average age of your audience? Just
Sean
curious.
Guerra donated 200 Australian dollars through Super Chat. 10 months of membership.
yeah.
Wow. Long-time watcher, listener.
Oh, baby. Thank you again, Sean. That's ridiculously generous. That's crazy. If you count my extra Twitch sub, I'm technically 6 months. Oh yeah, that's true. As for average age, it's actually older than you might think. I think our average age is literally between 18 and 35. It's like the dream age for advertisers because you're old enough to be able to make purchasing decisions yourself, but you're young enough that you are still involved on social media and online. So advertisers love my stuff. But yeah, we have a more mature audience for sure. Most gamers, most gaming channels that I've spoken to, the creators of, they typically sit at like an average age of 15, you know, which is just interesting to me. I think maybe it's because of the longer form content. It's my approach to things. I'm not sure, but for whatever reason, we have a slightly older demographic. So yeah. Earl G, guess what we're doing right now, my friend? Yeah, we're on YouTube and Twitch at the same time. It's the reason I'm here, because previously if I streamed on YouTube and Twitch, they would kick me off and I'd lose my partnership, but they changed that policy. So now I can co-stream. Yoda, much love to you too. Are you going to play more Star Citizen again, Luke? Asks Port Cubes. I'd like to. Yeah, I mean, I'm down. I'm down. We'll pick a day. The Failed Wizard. Okay, hear me out. I started to play Valhalla again, and I'm not as down about it as I was on my first playthrough, just saying. Really? Really? I mean, wait, so how far are you, though? Like, how far in it are you? I feel like that's a pretty important question. Oh no. Hold on. Our bit rate's scared. That's funny. Hold on. The bit rate looks spooked. You're 8 hours in? Okay. I don't know why it's scared all of a sudden. I do remember this on Streamlabs. I do remember this happening. And then OBS didn't have the issue. There we go. I checked a box that should help, I think. So we'll see. We'll see if this fixes it or makes it better. We'll see. Okay. We'll see. That should help now. Why only 720p on Twitch? It shouldn't be 720 on Twitch. I don't know. I don't know why it would be 720p. I will look into that. That is odd. But yeah, you're right. I see it capped out at 720. I don't know if it's transcoding it down to that. I don't know. I'll look into that. It should be 1080. Cody, thank you for the 2. Most disappointing game this year so far. Most disappointing. I know for a lot of people they would say Starfield, but personally for me, Starfield was better than I expected. It just had a lot of quirks that I did expect. So for me, it wasn't that disappointing. It kind of actually surpassed what I thought. As for disappointing, I don't know. Redfall, I also kind of expected to suck. So like, I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of what other games have come out that I was expecting would be really good that have been just kind of, Lords of the Fallen. I mean, I guess it did launch like totally broken. And even then when people have played it, they're not that thrilled or stoked on it. I don't know. Atomic Heart. Oh, maybe that's a good one. That could be a good one. Because it ended up being fine. But like, they have this beautiful world for you to explore, all these interesting things to see, amazing artwork, and then like that's it. Everything after that initial reveal, it takes place like in scientific labs underground, and it's like, wait, why did you build this amazing, fascinating world for me to want to explore, and then I don't actually get to? Like, it was so weird to me. I think Atomic Heart is probably a good one. I think that's good. I think that's a good one. We've not covered Avatar yet. We're about to, because a bunch of people played it.
Brandon Reyes donated $4.99 through Super Chat.
Thank you, Brandon.
Dropping in on a quick break from work to just say Alan Wake 2 is an absolute banger. Buy it if you haven't.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, I did find out, again, thank you for the 5. By the way, I did find out, I got confirmation, the bug, the hard lock I ran into that prevented me from finishing Alan Wake 2, it has been fixed, but only on new saves. There's no way for them to go back and change it. So if I want to finish the game, I have to play it over from the start, which is a little frustrating. I'll tell you what, but what are you gonna do? What exactly is a hard lock bug? It's just a soft lock is like, say you're playing something like Starfield and then you go in a room and to leave you have to open the door to walk out, but the door doesn't open. There's some bug that doesn't let you actually open the door. That would be a soft lock, because reloading the game, save, or even restarting the game will fix it. So it's a lock, but it's not like so rigid that it can't be dealt with. You can fix it. You can get over it. A hard lock is when there is nothing you can do. You are stuck, and it ruins your save file. Sometimes it ruins the whole game, but like in this case, I ran into a hard lock where specifically there is no way to make progress.
Mitochromarius is now a red flag. Happy almost Halloween. Will you give Like a Dragon, Yakuza, Gaiden a try on the channel when it drops in November?
It's gonna play through all of them real quick. I think we'll try it.
Ben Saver gives our red flag. Now that most of the bigger games have been released, what's your current pick for Game of the Year?
Baldur's Gate 3. I just don't see anything beating it out. I like, if people gave it to Tears of the Kingdom or Hogwarts, or even for some people if they give it to Starfield, like I wouldn't complain. I'd be like, yeah, that's fair. But yeah, I think for me it's just Baldur's Gate is far and away. So but yeah, as for Yakuza Like a Dragon, I think we'll try it. We'll see if it's if the audience is interested. I'm honestly not sure. Baldur's Gate 3 Game of the Year. And then Cody, thank you for the 2. What's your favorite game studio, or what is your favorite game studio right now? I mean, after Phantom Liberty, I'm still stoked on friggin' CD Projekt, but they have to do a lot more to win back my trust. So I mean, Larian has blown me away. I still love me some Naughty Dog, even though it's been forever. But the longer we wait between games from Naughty Dog, the more I'm worried we're going to have a Rocksteady situation where it's an amazing single player studio that is forced to do live service, and it just kills the soul of the developer. Because like, you look at Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, no part of that game looks like it came from the guys that did Arkham Knight. And it's tragic, man. It's so sad. What a waste. What an absolute waste. We did have a Hydrate award or reward. I have to go in and turn all those back on and everything. They were all turned off when I booted up the stream, and then I was like, well, we're already in it. We're just gonna go for it. We're in too deep now, boys. What do you think about Alan Wake 2 performance? I showed you guys on the last stream. I loaded into a save file 3 minutes in to Alan Wake 2, and it loaded me underneath the water of the lake in the starting area. And so I was stuck. Like, I had to restart the game from that initial save. So I don't know if I'm just freaking cursed and that game is just bugged to high holy hell for me or what. But there's something going on with it. Like, I don't know if I'm the only one that's had technical issues, but I did see some other people on Twitter saying that they've had audio bugs where they can't hear things, like audio just doesn't work. So whole conversations will be mute. Audio effects don't go off. And so I don't know if it's just me. Alan Break. Yeah. GameSpot gave it a 10. I told people that I had a feeling as more people finish the game and play the whole thing, I think a lot of people are going to walk away from it being like, that was pretty good. I don't see why it's a 10. And honestly, people that are like 5 hours in, I understand why they're super stoked on it. I think by the time you finish it, or at least get very close to the end, assuming you don't get stuck, I think a lot of people will feel that it's really good, but it's not a masterpiece. And that's where I'm at. Like, I think it's really good in a lot of ways, but then there's other things that just are frankly dumb. Like that mind place. I always want to say mind palace, but the mind place system doesn't do anything. Like it's just a glorified way of like keeping track of narrative developments and reading them back to the player for a second time. And personally, just for me, a lot of the time it feels like something that could have been trimmed down a lot, especially because it was described as like a detective system to connect pieces of the case together to solve the puzzle and solve the case. And that's just not what it is at all. Like it's basically just a way of keeping track of things that have happened in the story. So I don't know. It's, yeah, like probably an 8.5, I think is really solid. Danger Ultra, also Treasure, thank you for the Prime sub on Twitch. That's awesome. Cheers to that. Danger Ultra, thank you for the $4.99. I really enjoyed the side content of Spider-Man 2. Did you play through any of the side storylines? Yeah. No, I it's like I mentioned with Door Raptor. If people are not, like, I think what I love most about the good side content, like the actual side quests, not the world activities and stuff, the best thing about the Spider-Man side content is that it comes out of nowhere and you'll just be like, oh, let me go check in with this guy. Oh, he wants me to do something with his pigeons that are flying around. And then all of a sudden they come up with a baseball bat and just hit you over the head with an emotional kahuna. I don't know what to call it, but they will just wreck you out of nowhere emotionally. And I love that. I love it when you don't see it coming and it just shakes your world. I think that's awesome. Is that THCT? Oh no, I wish. This is just iced
Danger
coffee.
Plus Ultra donated $4.99 through Super Chat. I really enjoyed the side content of Spider-Man 2. Did you play through any of the side storylines?
Rip Howard indeed. And Austin, thank you also for 6 months. That's crazy. See what I mean? Like, it's crazy. Time flies. Tell you what. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. One thing, I guess, just as a point of a question for you guys, would you rather me read out those messages from like memberships and super chats when I see them, or wait for it to read them off through the audio? Otherwise, I read it, answer it, and then it goes off like 30 seconds later. I don't know if it's annoying. I don't know. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think. You read them and turn the audio off. I wish there was like an easier way for me to just like, okay, I read that one out loud, so I'll skip the audio trigger, but it's weirdly delayed. I don't know why. I end up just reading it when I see it most of the time because I'm like, I see it. Like, I'll just, let's do it. Do it. Boy. Skipper, good to see you. Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Adam. Okay. I was worried it was bugging people, but if it's not bugging people, that's awesome. Treasure, I'm so glad he said I can sub for free with Prime. I'm definitely using Twitch now. See, dab on the haters. And Twitch does have some cool perks for membership too. I also think the chat support is just way better. What we might end up doing is we might end up like leaning more into the Streamlabs tip system, because that doesn't have the big delay for some reason that super chats do. I don't know if YouTube's like API only pings it once every minute or something, but it always ends up being really delayed. Luke, AC Black Flag became 10 years old yesterday. No way. Oh, dude, you're totally right. Oh my God. 10.
Mike Humphrey is now a red flag.
Dude, I'm so freaking old. What happened? It's 10 years old? Oh my God.
Alodia 1 wiggle, Alodia 1 wiggle, Alodia 1 wiggle, Alodia 1 wiggle, Alodia 1 wiggle.
It reads out the emote. That's so stupid. That's funny. That's funny. Shark of the Red Sea, thank you for subbing with Prime as well. And also, Mike, thank you for becoming a member as well. Yeah, that's crazy, dude. I had like thought about it before that, oh yeah, 2013. Yeah, so it's getting old. But when you put it like that, when it's just like, yeah, it's 10 years old. It's a decade old now. Wow. I mean, that is one game I'm actually stoked that they're doing a remake of. I'm going to be real. Just because I think that some of those 360 games where levels are super tight and in each zone and they have their load screens. For BGS, you know, it's acceptable to do that. But for Ubisoft and some of these other studios, that's considered really outdated. So hopefully the remake is done well. That's my hope. That's my hope. But yeah, man, for real. I do look back on that and I think Black Flag is one of those outliers. It's why it's so baffling to me. Like, the team that did Black Flag also did AC Origins. So they kind of have regularly rebooted Assassin's Creed and made it feel really different and fresh. Usually by leaning into like open world design and more of an action thriller RPG open world style of thing instead of the more linear stealth focused games. But then they come out with
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
And that was just such a swing and a miss for me. I know you just said that you were trying it and it wasn't as bad the second time through. I've tried going back to it to give it another shot. And honestly, every time I try it, I'm like, it just doesn't click for me. Maybe one day it will. Maybe I'm playing it wrong. It's like with Fallout 4. When I went back and I just played it like an action adventure game or like a looter shooter, like a Borderlands, then you have a good time. If you try to take the story even semi-seriously, it's a joke. Like, the game gets really stupid. But it's like, yeah, your son's been kidnapped. Now go dick around and build buildings out of scrap metal. Like, no, you should try to find your son who's been stolen, right? And avenge your dead wife or husband. But no. Go have fun, like, building like weird wooden structures and dinking around. Like, it's just weird. Black Flag never clicked with you back in the day? I think that honestly, it is one game that I think does get a lot of extra points simply for being pirate themed. And like, I have a couple of big biases. I love me Ancient Egypt and I love me some pirate stuff. So if a game comes out and it's themed around pirates, for me, it goes from like 7, it goes to 8, maybe even 9, just because I love pirate stuff. Same with Origins in Egypt. Like, I just love Egypt and pirates, and so when I get a game like that caters to that, it's like +1, +2.
Red flag. Been a member for only 3 months, but been watching since the beginning of the year. Love the streams, Luke.
Thank you, my friend. And yeah, I mean, I feel like I've seen you around forever. But yeah, here's to 3 more months. Cheers. This is getting really, really watered down. What's one game that everyone loves that you don't? I mean, right now it seems to be Alan Wake 2. Like, I understand why people like it. I just don't think it's anywhere near the masterpiece people are describing. And maybe by the time they finish it, we'll come to kind of an agreement. But granted, my experience has been tainted because I had so many technical problems. But just in general, like, I find a lot of that stuff with the detective systems. I find a lot of the puzzles really boring. The combat I find to be extremely uninteresting. Like there's just a lot of parts of it that I'm not super stoked on. Did I play Avatar? Not yet. But yeah, let's should we check that out? Should we check that out? Should we do that? That's the next part. I think with Alan Wake 2, it's better if you play the first game like myself. Yeah, well, and I mean, again, there's some people that also love the kind of surrealist, psychedelic writing and horror elements. And that is something Alan Wake 2 does really, really well. And my biggest thing is like, I think Alan Wake 2 is a game about the narrative, and that's where it excels. The gameplay, it struggles. In the same way, like, I think you can make a very compelling case that, say, Uncharted 4 or The Last of Us Part 1, you know, are games that are not amazing in the gameplay department, but are mostly narrative. And that's what made, like, The Last of Us 2 so remarkable, was that it had a crazy story, but also the gameplay to this day is still ridiculous. I was playing it yesterday. I tried booting it up, and oh my God, dude, that combat system and the stealth systems, like, they still work fantastically well. It's wild. So yeah. Anyway, let's do this. So if you shout out to Rango, and then we'll do this. Blue.
Rango is now a red flag. 2-month membership. Just got Shadow of Mordor / War for cheap on Steam.
Oh, good.
Excited to finally give them a shot.
Yeah, start with Mordor for sure, and then you're gonna have a great time and love it and be like, these games are amazing. Why I've never played these before. And then you're gonna move into War, and it's gonna feel a little weird, but it's like everything about Mordor with like HGH and testosterone boosters, and then all these other PEDs, and then like gorilla and moose jizz sprinkled over top. Like, it is on every steroid you can imagine, and it's awesome. It feels a little weird because it was built around loot boxes, and then they took loot boxes out of it, but you can still have a really good time with it, I think. It can get really grindy at the end, during the end game, when you're pushing for the final credits, but as long as you play it until you stop having fun and then you stop, you have a great time. The problem is I think a lot of people push themselves too far, and that can spoil it, I think personally. Anyway, into Gaboo. Don't think about it too hard. So we'll touch on this. I'm going to turn off the noise alerts for the super chats, memberships and stuff, and subs. I'll still shout them out, but I just want to be able to get through these segments as we go without like the big audio disruption for people that will watch these stream clips after the fact. So with that said, in case you have not seen it, a handful of creators, sorry. That was not correcting me. Influencers have gotten to play Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. And I have no idea what they think of it. I have not watched any of these. I've seen the clickbaity thumbnails where, you know, they look at the camera. And so I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means it's amazing or if they hated it, but we're going to see together and see what they think of it. I have not had the chance to play the game myself. These opinions are those of the creators we'll watch. I think we will be checking out the one and only Joe Raptor. We'll be checking out Mr. Matty Plays and IGN. And we're going to see what each of them have to say, because I tend to respect each of those guys, and I think that they generally have interesting takes on things that often are very different than my own, which is why I think it will be interesting. That's why I'm down to do it. Okay, everybody in? Everybody down with the boogie? I took the boogie to the woogie, and the woogie was booged. There we go. Okay, let's do it real quick. Everybody, let your opinion be known in chat real quick. Who do you want to watch first? Jor Raptor, Mr. Matty, or IGN? Put Jor, Jor, Matty, or IGN in the chat. and I will eyeball it, and we'll see who we go first with. Also, shout out Mike for the 2. Thinking about getting Baldur's Gate 3. Recommend? Absolutely. The game is ridiculously good. Okay, overwhelming. The only one, Joe Raptor. DSP game. You should follow DSP. Can you imagine if they invited him? Oh my god, dude. What did DSP think of the game? I don't know. We couldn't really tell. He just snorted the whole time. Oh god. Okay. Let's do Joe Raptor. Somebody's gonna clip that. Let's start with Joe Raptor. Let's do the one and only. Okay. I need to stop talking. It just sounds worse and worse every time I say it. Okay, here we go. The video is called I Played Avatar Frontiers of Pandora early ... There's 4. Oh baby, that's scary. 4 dots is a lot for a reaction video. Let's see what we got. Oh wait, sorry, audio's off. Hold on. Here we go. Okay.
One of the highlights from my Avatar Frontiers of Pandora play session was jumping off a platform, calling your Ikran and flying away. It's very smooth and there are other ways that you can feel like a badass in this game as well. Yes, the Far Cry influences are more than clear, but there's also a bit of Horizon and Assassin's Creed in here. It never reached the quality of those games though during my hands-on session, and I also worry that they might not have enough time to polish the game before the December 7th release, because I ran into quite some issues. More on that.
Interesting. Okay, so little backstory for those of you that have not seen our podcast this past week. So we were talking about Avatar. As far as I can tell, and I've not confirmed this with him, so I don't want anybody to be like, "Oh, Luke's breaking something." Nothing has been spoiled. Okay, I don't actually know them. Know this specifically, but it seemed like when we were talking on the podcast last week, that was after he did this play session. Because the next morning he posted the thing that was, I played Avatar, I'll share my impressions soon. Okay. So I think during the podcast last week, he had already played it. And when we asked him, do you think that they delay Avatar Frontiers of Pandora into next year? He said, yeah, I think they do. He said, I don't think that they're going to stick to this date, which is really interesting because to me, it seems like that implies his experience was really buggy. Really, really buggy. That's my impression. Okay. We'll see if it actually is. But already, looking at this, it's surprising to me that there's no fog effect or anything. This looks really weird. Just the floating rocks in the distance with no post-processing or anything. Looks really, really flat, you know?
In a second though, thanks Ubisoft of course for letting me play this original Avatar game early. It's not based on any of the movies, we also get to explore new regions of Pandora, but it does take place during the events of the popular films. And just
see, I think parts of this look really good. The compression is doing it, great disservice, because my god. That's why I don't like H.264 encoding. AV1 would work wonders with this, but parts of it look really good. This I think looks really good, but then part of those sky shots I think look rough.
with the movies, this game is a looker. There were a couple of moments where I just took some time to enjoy the view. I was pretty impressed.
So that looks really good. All of this looks great, and then these rocks just look off to me. It feels like there should be more of a fog effect or something like what's hitting in these mountains back here, but for some reason up here it's not being applied. It's like there's some layer issue where the filter is not being applied to them. It's weird.
Impressed by the cutscenes too. The Na'vi look stunning with their distinct outfits and markings. You can really tell that a lot of detail went into recreating James Cameron's world, and I was blown away by the music that feels on par with what I experienced in the cinema and just adds so much more emotion to these scenes.
I'm gonna start saying that too instead of going to the movies or movie theater. I went to the cinema. Need the 4K version. Yeah, I don't know if they hold on, it's the bit rate struggling. We'll give it a minute to catch up. Yeah, I don't know why. Maybe IGN also got it at 4K. Nope. Maddie's at 1440. So yeah, I don't know. they're capped at like 1080p for some reason. Must have been their capture. I don't know. I'm just waiting for the bit rate to catch up. Every once in a while it struggles and then it kind of dips down. So I'm just going to give it a second to catch up. Okay. Okay. I think we're back. I think we're good. My understanding also is that this was a remote event. So they were playing off of a PC in a remote location with like the Parsec game streaming being how they played it. They did not go and play in person. That's my understanding from what Joe Raptor was saying. So I've done this with a lot of Ubisoft games before. I did it with like AC Mirage and stuff. So it's pretty standard. Joel Raptor, for example, he played AC Mirage in person. I only played it remotely, and he said it ran and looked way, way better in person than it did in the remote events and with the recorded footage and stuff. So maybe this is one of those instances. I'm not sure, but I think in the recording they provided, it looks decent.
We must bring the fight to them.
Aim for the bushes.
Yeah, it's really good, and recent big open world Ubisoft games are just not very known for having a lot of high quality cutscenes, but in the Avatar section I played, there were quite a lot of them. So it seems like Ubisoft is not holding back this time. And the fact that it's set in a fantasy world also lets the developers get a bit more creative, which so far made exploring Pandora more exciting and interesting than any of the grounded Far Cry regions. Like in Avatar, you simply don't know what you will find. Plants play a huge role in this, as they can increase your speed if you walk over them, they can sometimes shoot at you when you get too close, or you can use them as explosives. There are lift vines to help you get higher up, sometimes you have to shoot them first to create the vine. They can launch you to spots you first could not reach, or can be used as trampolines to also let you jump higher. Like I found
Alien
a ton of different
platforming.
plants in my short session that all had a small but fun impact on the gameplay. Now early in my demo I learned that the RDA, the Sky People, had installed aerial devices that were pushing out signals, disrupting the life in the Kinglor forest. So the goal was to take them out, but to do that I first had to get a flying mount. But as we know from the movies, it's quite challenging to bond with an Ikran. You have to earn their trust first. So for this mission I had to climb the familiar flying rocks, jump from branch to branch in order to tame my own flying mount. The plants were here also used for puzzles, where for example one blocks your path, so you have to follow the connecting vines and touch or shoot them in quick succession to clear the way. Like there was no combat in this mission at all. I was chasing this Ikran that was testing my agility and see if I could make it to the top. It was kind of refreshing, and also
Yeah, I mean, instead of just having you fight waves and waves of enemies, they try to get you acclimated to the world, get used to that, get experienced with the controls and movement. I think that's kind of cool. That's a good way of doing it.
makes sense for this world. After a lot of climbing and showing my worth, I could finally bond with my Ikran and give a name as well. There are 10 options, but the cool part is that your character will say that name out loud to your flying mount as well, which is always fun and gives you that extra connection.
Good to see you, Fury.
That is cool.
And totally, of course, drop a like if you are curious about Avatar and subscribe. I got way more videos on the game planned. And if you got questions after watching the video, drop them down below. Now, as you've already seen, I did get to use my weapons quite a lot. And this in particular is where the Far Cry similarities come into play. In Avatar, hunting is also pretty important. You can take out harmless creatures like Stern Beast or fight off Viper Wolves that will attack you on sight. But if you use an assault rifle or
It's also something that, like, the UI is just kind of interesting. You know, like these extra big icons with it all, like, I think maybe they were playing in like 1080p. So that's part of the reason all of the text is scaled up. Because you know how when you play a game at a higher resolution, all of the text and everything will scale back down. Maybe that's what it is. But yeah, all the text and the pictures and UI elements are really, really big, which is just surprising to me because most Ubisoft stuff isn't like that.
Or other destructive ammo, then you will ruin the body, so cannot loot it, similar to how it works in Far Cry. So you instead have to use your bow and the regular arrows for a clean kill, so you're able to take all the resources. Now I hope there's a feature to make the looting go faster, because now every time you get a resources from a creature, your character will say some prayers, which can take up to a few seconds. The first time it was pretty cool, but it got annoying really fast, as you're basically standing still for a few seconds, which really slows the gameplay down. Far Cry moved away from the long looting animation for a reason, so again, I hope there's...
This is one of those things where, like, I don't think that I'm necessarily upset about it, you know? First of all, B-Semi, by the way, thank you for the sub with Prime, by the way. Yeah, like, I think the move away from all these little details of extended animations and taking a little more time to show things, that's one of the things people can't stand about Ubisoft, is that they cut out, like, they try to cut out bloat, and instead they end up cutting out a lot of meat too. They're a little heavy-handed with what they trim out, to the point where it just ends up being like, you know, skin and bone and not a lot of meat left over. And yeah, maybe you do it like in Primal, you allow it to be toggled on or off. You could do that. But like long animations on skinning animals, I don't have a problem with. In Red Dead Redemption 2, there's a pretty long animation that plays whenever you do it. I believe you can skip over it, right? If you just tap B or circle, I'm pretty sure it just skips the animation. So do something like that, where you can, like, if you want to stay immersed, you can watch it play out in full, and then you can just skip past it if you want to, whatever. But I don't think you need to trim it out completely, or like make it so it's just like grab the pelt, grab the heart. Like that kind of drives me crazy.
There's a setting to skip this in Avatar as well. Things you grab from animals can be used to cook, like the game has some
Cook.
survival elements where you have to feed
I love Joe Raptor's accent so much. Every once in a while he'll say something, I'm just like, big summer blood.
yourself
Hello,
and
family.
your mount to keep the energy levels up. If your energy is namely low, you will stop recovering health over time, so it is beneficial to hunt and have some food with you to take care of yourself. And food can also give buffs for a particular duration, which seems very similar to the cantina in Far Cry 6. You can also find food in the world and crafting materials to, for example, make gear and weapons, and while I cannot show you the crafting table, I could try it, and it does seem pretty deep. So when I got a new weapon or gear item from a quest, I would also get the recipe for it. So I can then go to a crafting table to make that piece of equipment again, but add different attributes to it. Like add a different bowstring to your bow to get 5% more damage against wildlife, so it's nice for going out hunting, or you can increase the damage when using the RDA firearms, for example. I got a bit worried when I saw the plus 10% stealth stat, like what does that mean or increase? So yeah, they have some RPG elements, but so far I'm not convinced that it will actually matter, similar to, say, Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I hope I'm wrong though, as it would be cool to craft some builds and different playstyles, but for example, when infiltrating an RDA base, I could insta-kill every soldier or very quickly take out the amp suits. Like, the time to kill is very similar to the Far Cry games, so I'm not sure why we need stats or a gear score in Avatar. Like,
And that is kind of frustrating. It's the really like short TTKs. I understand why they do it, but it's kind of annoying because like you're using a bow and arrow against like robotic suits. I understand you can attach like an explosive to it or whatever else, but to see that like heavily armored soldiers or androids and robots and drones and things are getting taken down by people throwing rocks and sticks at them, like it just doesn't seem like it should work that way. You know, it just has always bugged me.
yes, there is also a gear score, where every item you equip in a Destiny or Assassin's Creed Valhalla type menu, I sadly can't show you that either, like, you improve this gear score number or it will go down. Missions also have a recommended level, although again, it's kind of hard to tell if any of that actually mattered. Luckily, the moment-to-moment gameplay was pretty great. It's like nothing new, but they did tweak enough to step outside of Far Cry Shadow. For one, I found the enemies quite strong. Getting one of those mechs after you is far from ideal, let alone the full camp, as the enemies hit really hard, so then you go through your 3 valuable health potions really quickly, and this made stealth the better option, I would argue more so than in the Far Cry games.
Which I think makes sense. I mean, they're like a militia versus like some people, again, with bow and arrows and spears riding on like alien flying horses. So I think that makes sense, but there's something, and I know this is silly, so I just need to verbalize it before it drives me more crazy. There's something I find kind of annoying about the constant references, and to be clear, it's not just Raptor. Everybody's doing this. There's something annoying about the constant references to Far Cry. Like, yeah, I get it. It's being produced and built by Ubisoft, same company and publisher that built Far Cry. I get it. But like, what specifically about this is reminding you of Far Cry? That it's got an open world and then it has shooting mechanics and it's first person. If that's all you're looking at, why aren't you bringing up all of these other first person shooter open world games? Like, why aren't you bringing up whatever it is, Stalker or Fallout or any of these others? It's because like, well, this is the one Ubisoft made. So I get it, but a lot of the stuff that people are saying, they're like, oh yes, and then you can shoot and hunt animals for crafting materials. So clearly this is directly copy and pasted from Far Cry. And I'm like, I don't think that's necessarily true. Like, yeah, they made a game that has similar mechanics, but I don't think that necessarily means that it's just a straight copy and paste. Like, many other games do this. This is far from unique to Far Cry, you know?
I quickly figured out that my fire arrows were perfect for the amp suits, as just one shot was enough to destroy them thanks to the pretty insane damage over time, and this would also let me stay hidden. And then I used the normal arrows to just snipe the regular soldiers, so I was sneaking around, switching weapons and ammo depending on the situation, scanning and tagging enemies through walls with my special vision. It was pretty awesome. You can buy the...
I want to know if he's going to talk about AI. Because in AC Mirage, I thought the AI was pretty brain dead, and my fear would be that it's going to be yet another issue here. It seems to be a consistent issue with Ubisoft games of late, which is that the AI is just totally an afterthought. And it's a bummer because back in AC Origins and Odyssey, they actually had some really cool AI stuff going where like if you killed somebody and their body drops right here, another NPC would come and pick up the body, carry it to the outside of the camp where they have the pile of the bodies. And then later somebody comes and takes them away to be buried. Like, they actually had some pretty intelligent AI. Everybody was on a schedule. Everybody was doing their own thing. They had all their own homes and places to sleep, rest, and eat. They'd go to relieve themselves throughout the day. You know, they had a lot of cool stuff going on. And recently, it seems like they've just totally given up on all of that. It's really weird. Because, like, they had it figured out. You know, like, they had it figured out.
By the way, craft arrows from the weapon wheel at any time, which is great, but
Very
in my
Horizon.
experience, you run out of resources pretty quickly, making that one-hit stealth-like playstyle even more beneficial. And navigating these bases,
which is funny because like that's a staple of Horizon games too. Crafting ammo on the fly and then running out of materials to craft it while you're in encounters, which kind of screws you over. But Jor does love him some Horizon. I'm of the mind I think Horizon is actually really overrated. I think it's good. It's a great technical showcase, like duology, I guess at this point. It's not quite a trilogy. At least not yet. But yeah, I think that's beside the point. That's beside the point. Yeah, I could rant about Horizon being kind of like a B- for ages and trigger lots of people.
as an acrobatic Navi with a double jump also makes for some fun possibilities that were not possible in the Far Cry games. Who needs ladders when you can just jump? You are also reminded of the fact that you're kind of a giant when facing a tiny human soldier, which a really fun twist. But my favorite part of
Did you see how long it took him to respond though? Like, look at these reaction times with the NPCs. Look how long it takes him to do anything or even move once he sees the player character.
Facing a tiny human soldier, which a
Sees
really
him.
fun
He should be
twist.
shooting.
But my favorite part of the base infiltration was calling my Ikran after I completed all the ground objectives and then fly to the roof of a building to destroy the antenna as like the final thing I had to do. It's really cool that you have this level of freedom and can just call your flying mount while in combat inside an enemy base. It helps to change the familiar outpost clearing up quite a bit. It can also of course infiltrate from the back of your flying mount if you want, and the flying combat worked pretty well too, and it was surprisingly easy to shoot a Scorpion gunship out of the sky. Now there were sadly some design decisions and straight up issues that did get in the way of getting to these really fun moments. There are namely some random mini games that just aren't fun at all. Like you have the scanning gun and then you have to line up the circle with the other circle, but yeah, it wasn't exciting and I had some issues with my controller that made this a bit harder as well. When picking up a plant, you have to pull them in the right direction, but there's very little feedback, so I would just hold it in that direction, but nothing happened, so it was either stuck or just took a really long time before you could get the plant.
I'm playing a game. That looks pretty stupid. Okay, I'll give him that. That's weird.
Also annoying was that the crosshair for your weapon would sometimes turn red, suggesting that you would hit the target if you fired, but then the arrow would not even reach it, which did not help during my stealth infiltration. And I also got lost a couple of times, like there's no mini-map, and while the dense forest looked pretty, it also looks kind of similar everywhere, so it's sometimes just really hard to figure out where you have to go. And there's this...
Oh, I can't stand mini-maps in open world games, though. See, this is why I like watching Joe Raptor stuff, because we just think differently. We have different tastes and stuff. So he's saying he's bummed that there wasn't a mini-map to help him figure out where to go. I can't stand mini-maps because instead of looking at the world when you're playing a game, you're staring at like a little mini-map in the corner. And I think that's so stupid. Like using a compass like this, I think works way better, or even better using dynamic things in the environment to call attention to certain objects or locations. That's ideal. That's why like Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild are so amazing, because they don't really have any of that. And I mean, I guess they do have a minimap technically. I usually turn it off, but most of the navigation, most of the exploration takes place just by seeing something in the distance that's interesting and going and pursuing it and finding it and investigating.
This glowing thing revealing the location of your main quest objective, and sometimes it's like higher up. So then I tried climbing a mountain for a few minutes to get there, but turned out I had to walk around the mountain, which simply wasn't clear because I saw the glow like in front of me. Now, I would imagine this less of an issue when you have your flying mounts, but the on-foot exploration that I gotta do was kind of a pain to get right. And while it's Ubisoft's first next-gen only open-world game, Avatar really does not seem to try anything to push that format forward. The open-world activities I found were the bases, the bell sprigs that you have to touch to increase your health. I could free a creature that was being held by the RDA. I then, by the way, just hunted the beast after like...
He frees it and then murders it. Oh no. Oh, that's a very... I'm sorry. That's just really getting in the mood of the Na'vi, you know? It's okay. You are free now. Like, it's just so funny. I'm sorry. It's probably not that funny to anybody else, but I found that thoroughly hilarious.
Freeing it and got its resources. It kind of felt evil, but yeah, I wanted to try it for science. It is possible. No, but my point is that there was nothing exciting about the open world activities. It seems like they will also just be reused to...
I wonder if you can kill it while it's still in captivity. So like you don't even free it. You just kill it while it's trapped. Can you then also take the resources? Then just cut out the middleman. But depending on how they do it, maybe if like there's an XP payout for freeing it, and then you also get XP from harvesting it, so you double dip on the XP from dealing with it. I guess maybe that's how it works.
Throughout the map with little variation. The progression also left much to be desired. There's a pretty small skill tree that I sadly cannot show, but expect skills like increasing your ammo capacity for certain weapons or getting more damage when using certain weapons. I'm not kidding, those were most of the skills that I looked at. It's pretty boring. I could get a dodge roll with my Ikron, which was kinda cool, but seems like that will be one of the only new moves that you can unlock through the skill tree, with the others being just a passive bonus. The focus of this game...
Yeah, but again, I think they've made it clear this isn't supposed to be an RPG. Like, it's fine if, like, we want to call out the skill tree for being lackluster, because then it's like, why is it there? I mean, at least you could say it's just like a collection of bonuses and perks and stuff. It's not really a skill tree with varying options and branches. Kind of, I mean... kind of like a lot of other games have done recently. I just don't know why everything has to brand it as a skill tree. It's like, chill out.
Aim was clearly to recreate the Avatar world, and that is totally something that Frontiers of Pandora seems to nail, but it also seems to completely ignore feedback on previous Ubisoft releases. Like Far Cry 6 2 years ago got slammed for being way too samey, but Avatar does not seem to try and improve on that at all. So yes, I expected a bit more from that, but also am looking forward to this game because it does seem to be another massive open world to get lost in. The map was really big. I cannot show you that either, but if the main missions have the same quality and variety in terms of combat, platforming and puzzles, then I do think it will be a very cool way to experience the Avatar world. Like, that's the best thing this game has going for it. We just never had a AAA big budget release set in this universe, and it's kind of cool that it's finally close. So this was of course a pre-release version of the game. Hopefully they have enough time to fix the issues I ran into, because it was quite a lot. For me this felt like a demo I sometimes played at E3, but then the developers still had 4 to 5 months to polish everything up. Avatar is coming in less than 2 months from now when I played it, which is kinda worrying for me. I had crashes, visual glitches, there were placeholder items still, audio bugs, etc. So again, I hope they fix it in time, because they're
So if there's still placeholder items like artwork that's not done and models that aren't done, that's worrisome. The question is, when was this put together? And for those of you not familiar, like typically when influencers play demos, we're getting to try something that was put together 6 months beforehand, and then they kind of worked on getting it prepped and making sure it ran right and they could frame it properly to creators, and then they go off and let us try it. So usually, like, if you're playing a demo or doing something like this 2 months before launch, you're actually playing a version of the game that was 8 months before launch, if that makes sense. So it might not be that concerning, but still, I mean, ideally you just wouldn't run into any problems, right? Ideally there would be no issues at all and the game just runs great, everybody's happy. And I've had demos like that, as has Jor and everybody else. So it's certainly concerning that we are not seeing something that clear cut, you know. I'd hope to see better results. Let's see what Maddie thought of it. Mr. Maddie plays. How are you? What you got?
Congratulations, everybody. It is Maddie here today, and I got to play Avatar Frontiers of Pandora early. A big shout out to Ubisoft for the digital opportunity. They did have an in.
Should I troll people and mispronounce the game when we start doing videos on it? Thank you to Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Really excited to talk about this game today.
It's an event in Sweden, but I'm still working with my physical therapist to get my balance right and everything, so I haven't been able to travel on a plane. Fortunately, they had an online opportunity, so I was...
Yeah, shout out to Maddie. The poor guy's been dealing with some crazy health stuff. All the best to you, Maddie.
Able to check...
Hope you are able to kick it and feel better, my man. I know that's got to be a nightmare.
Out the game. And ladies and gentlemen, I actually walked away with some pretty positive thoughts on this one. When Avatar Frontiers of Pandora first debuted, I was impressed by the visuals, and I was curious how the gameplay would add new wrinkles to the experience, because it looked a little bit...
Oh, Maddie likes wrinkles. Oh, Matthew. Okay.
akin to Far Cry. And so now getting about an hour and a half, 2 hours of hands-on time, I got some positive...
Oh, only an hour and a half? Joraptor, I don't think he specifically said how long he got to play. He just said it was short. But only a 90-minute demo to 2-hour demo? That's really short. I don't think I've ever had a Ubisoft demo that short. I think the shortest I've ever done with Ubisoft is like 3 hours.
Thoughts. So we'll see if it lives up to the hype when the game actually comes out on December 7th. But right now, feeling pretty good about things and looking forward to also Star Wars Outlaws, if this is how Ubisoft plans to handle IP like Avatar. So ladies and gentlemen, if you're...
Oh, so it sounds like Maddie's impressions are generally a little more positive. Interesting. Okay.
You're into previews, reviews. We try to do them all. Consider subscribing. With that said, with this preview, there were only certain things I can show you. I was able to capture all of my own gameplay, which is what you're going to be watching on screen the entire time. However, I'm not going to be able to show you like the crafting tables or the stations or interactions with NPCs or in-game menus or even the world map. So if you see a lot of just me roaming around the open world and not giving you visual context to things,
I feel like this camera angle might have been a mistake. You know, it's just, you know, there might have been a better angle to take. Or maybe this is precisely the correct angle. Who knows?
Talking about, I don't want you to think this is an editing flub or us getting lazy here. This is genuinely at the request.
Oh, Agent, Ask me that again after we go through this video. I have some thoughts. I have something actually really cool to show you. So ask me again, Agent Darko, in just a minute, okay?
Rest of Ubisoft. I can say that my experience with all of these systems were totally fine. Nothing seemed broken or off. Perhaps they're waiting to finish things with the final touches on UI. These can change pretty late in game development, but I just wanted to make sure I was transparent at the front of the video and make sure you're aware that there are certain things I cannot show you, so you'll have to use your imagination as I break down certain parts of the game.
This is why we need to make MS Paint a standard in this industry. Like this, like the Ubisoft tells you can't show the crafting menu. Okay, understood. I'm gonna paint it for you then. Look at this. So how it works is we have this menu here, and then in the middle of the menu we have this box, and then from it are these branches, and it goes off like just use MS Paint. You're not showing it, you're following the rules, and you can still kind of communicate, especially if there's a big problem with the menu or something you want to address. Use MS Paint. It's God's gift to man. MS Paint, one of the greatest inventions in human history.
Fortunately, I wish Ubisoft didn't do this, but I'd rather communicate it here and now.
Or what did the kids say? On God.
So you just know what to expect for the rest of the video. Let's start off with the visuals because I called it out pretty early on. This game is beautiful. I was streaming through Parsec and not getting the full fidelity of the game, but looking back at the footage that was captured, oh my God, vibrant, incredible draw distance. This world is awe-inspiring, which is something I've always applauded Ubisoft for. Even with Assassin's Creed Mirage, which I wasn't a big fan of, I said the way they build their environments, the way they build their worlds, they feel so lived in, and this one just feels like endless and open and invites you in. So I was really big on the visuals, which many of you know, I'm more of like the artsy-fartsy dude. Like art style draws me in a lot more than just pretty visuals with lots of color splashes. But
I was gonna say I could guess that just from the artwork on the wall. And I agree. I mean, it's mostly about how it's put together, not what's used to put it together.
This one was doing the trick because that's kind of always been Avatar, right? Like this world has always been heavily splashed with color, and so this really fits the way Ubisoft builds their world. So yeah, it just kept pulling me in as I climbed the next vista, as I flew above.
I do actually think Maddie's gameplay looks more vibrant and even better than Joraptor's. Like a good bit better. I don't know if it's just how he encoded the video or what, but Joraptor's footage looked a good bit worse than this.
Above.
Am I crazy or am I just making that up? I feel like
with my Ekron, this world, you just want to explore it. It's fantastic looking. But what about the game that you play? You know, there are plenty of good looking games out there nowadays. So what about the game you play? It is the Far Cry formula, but it's been mixed in with a couple of wrinkles so far that I think
more wrinkles. Maddie, you sly dog.
Help set it apart. But if you like Far Cry, you're gonna love this, I think. Now, you may recall my review of Far Cry.
This, I you know what? Let me take a moment actually to give Maddie some credit. This is something that I think we all just kind of take for granted. Everybody's like, oh God, but Avatar, it looks just like Far Cry. Far Cry with Smurfs, dancing with Smurfs, but Far Cry, that's all it looks like. And that just like assumes that everyone should hate it because it's similar to Far Cry. And like, listen, Avatar, or rather Far Cry, is not going to win like any Game of the Year awards. It's not typically going to be, you know, on a lot of people's top 3 of the year lists. But there's millions of people that play every single Far Cry game and enjoy them. Shocker, right? Just because they're not masterpieces doesn't mean that people don't enjoy them and have fun. So it's not necessarily a given that being like Far Cry or sharing certain design elements is a bad thing, even though people seem to just say that like it's a foregone conclusion, like, oh well, it's like Far Cry, oh well, pass. You know, like that's not a given actually.
Far Cry 6 was pretty scathing. I was very tired of the formula there, and I think that's the biggest takeaway I have here, is that it feels like they finally just shook up the Far Cry formula a bit, where not only are we getting away from the narrative sensibility, since it's a completely different franchise here, where like Far Cry just couldn't help itself but have like, let's burn down a plantation like we did in Far Cry 3. They just kept running back things from Far Cry 3. This, because it's a different IP, has to separate itself not only by gameplay, but also by mission identity. So you'll be doing things like hacking mini games. You'll have this little gun that you can use that can hack giant mechs, and you can deactivate them to open up weak points and take them out. You can also use this to solve little puzzles, a little more interactive in-world puzzles. So I like that type of stuff, but I think the Ekron is the big separating factor.
And see, this is why it's interesting and why it's good to look at multiple people's footage and opinions, because Joraptor said all these minigames sucked and were unfun. Maddie liked them. So it's not just a given that because one person liked it, one person didn't like it. Like, it could be a toss-up. You could enjoy it, you might not. It's not a given that just because one influencer said something, that's the conclusion. It's why it's good to get a variety of opinions.
factor here. So you can jump on this thing whenever, almost wherever you want. Like I was infiltrating this oil rig and I managed to just hop off a rock and get on it and fly up to the top of a building and jump off and continue a firefight. Like this game does have a sense of freedom that I think is pretty cool. But the best feeling was when I was flying way above the clouds and I'm getting into firefights with vehicles in the sky and just wiping them out. You feel like a bona fide badass. And so I got to say, the Ikran is a game changer, but it also feeds into the visuals I was talking about, where when you jump off a cliff and you're flying and the music kicks in, Ubisoft has a pretty good feel for it, where I'm not like the craziest Avatar fan, to be honest. Like I saw the first movie 6, 7, 8 years late, like somewhere in that range. I saw it in the 2020, so I saw it extremely late. And I was like, okay, that was pretty good. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I was interested in the game. And now I'm like, oh, okay, I see what's special about this world. It's pulling me in more and more. So again, Ubisoft really has something here when it comes to using the Ikran, using the visuals. It does draw you in further, but the Ikran is definitely like the separating factor here, because you can just go up and get into firefights. There are activities in the sky. It really presents a sense of freedom to the game. One little change, it's more on.
Also, like, I know this is baffling because not many of us are this way. I don't think it's that common, but there are a lot of people who are like obsessed with Avatar. It's weird, but look at the like announcement trailer for this game on YouTube and you will see in the comment section thousands of comments from people that are like, I'm not a big gamer, but I'm going to try this. This looks amazing. To get to explore this world finally would be a dream come true. It was like, of course, it's not on the level of like Harry Potter or anything with like Hogwarts Legacy, but there are a lot of people who love this world and love this movie series and will buy this game just to experience it in an interactive way. And I know, again, it's weird for us because a lot of us are not that way, but there's a lot of people like that. His name is James Cameron.
On a visual front too, but I think it's so cool. It's because like you're a Navi, you're huge, right? And so when you're shooting humans, they're like these little puny humans. You're like, yeah, I'll just take you all out. It's awesome. Where the things that are more true size to you are these huge mechs. So the way the game plays with scale,
is he gonna kill it too?
Is really fun, and it brings the world to life a bit more. There's a lot of first-person platforming. Like I said, there's a Far Cry formula here. Like you're going to be picking up lots of plants, and these plants are going to fuel upgrade trees and whatnot that we'll get into in a moment. So you're going to see a lot of that stuff, and I've never really minded those parts of the Far Cry formula. It's actually the aspect I really appreciated. Was like a decent first-person shooter, but it used its first-person sensibilities for different gameplay activities. Like I remember the towers you would climb in Far Cry 4. I really enjoyed because they were these challenging first-person platforming puzzles. So I always had a good time with those, and this game reminded me a bit of that. Since collecting materials is a big part of this game, you may be wondering how you find things, and at first I was a little confused. Navigation in this game feels very different from your typical Ubisoft game, and it's strange because the structure is similar. Like every Assassin's Creed game has the guided exploration and the no guidance at all, so you could just find your way to every quest without any help from Ubisoft. But even with guided, which usually provides waypoints and like, hey, you go this way, I would get lost pretty often in my hour-and-a-half playthrough. I'm not going to judge it too hard yet because I'm getting familiar with things at this point. I'm jumping in the middle of a playthrough. I have no idea what I'm doing. It's one of the, if you will, tougher parts of a preview. But hopping in, there were a couple of times I got lost, and I think it's because of the amount of vegetation, the sense of verticality in the game, where there was one point I was on my Ikran, and they're like, get on the sky island that has a waterfall dripping off of it, and it's in a sea of these floating rocks. And I'm thinking, okay, I don't know which one this is. And it wasn't until a Ubisoft representative actually had to hand point to me where to go. And I've normally not had those issues in games before, and Ubisoft is usually very good with visual direction on like, hey, this is where you go. So I'm not going to overreact to it yet, but even when I went back to like the Navi home base and I had to find where...
So, I mean, this is something that Jor and Maddie have said now. So we're 2 for 2 on navigation being confusing and often leading to getting lost. It could just be jumping into it in the middle of it. This is like a totally different way of exploring. It's very vertical, so you have to think about it differently than your standard open world game. It could be that. It could also be that it's just not very clear and it lacks direction. Who knows? Well, I mean, we won't know until we play it ourselves, but this is something that's 2 for 2 now, and sometimes when there's smoke, there's fire. So I think that that's worth looking at. You think they will by default keep all map indicators on? Probably. They typically leave all that stuff on, or they'll give you the pop-up prompt and be like, what do you like? Would you like the full guided experience where they give you the map objective marker like in Mirage they did this, or would you like the recommended style of exploration where they'll tell you like, go find this target on the coast east of this city. And then you run over there, you start looking around, and eventually you find the guy. And as you discover more clues, it pinpoints where he is more precisely. So maybe they offer both options. That would be my ideal. Like then if you want really clearly guided stuff where there's just an objective marker that pops up, you can do that. Or if you want to try to be as immersed in the game as possible and be like, okay, the Na'vi person told me like they would in the real world. They're like, yeah, go to the Skyland with a waterfall with the big red tree. Because that's how they would tell you if you were actually there. Then you have to go and find that. It might take you a few minutes as you fly around looking for it. I personally like that stuff. I like it when I'm immersed in the world and I kind of have to behave like I was actually there. I enjoy that, but I also understand why other people don't. Some people have, God damn, we got work in the morning. Some people don't have the time for it. And it's just kind of like an annoyance more than anything. So I get that. Imatohe, thank you for the $10 super chat, by the way. My goodness, very generous. Hey, Luke, big fan of your reviews. My question to you is, what is your favorite character this year? And what is, according to you, the most influential video game character of all time? Influential? Probably Mario, right? Like, it's got to be Mario. Like a character of all time, I don't think there's a video game character more recognizable or huge and iconic as Mario. So probably Mario. As for my favorite character this year, oh man, oh shoot, what's his name? The guy, I can't remember his name. The guy in Baldur's Gate 3 that like sings his own music during like the boss fight. You know what I'm talking about? What the hell is his name? He was freaking hilarious. And that, yeah, Idris Elba, he also, yeah, his character in Phantom Liberty is fantastic. Raphael, yeah. Yeah, there's a handful that are really, really good. There's a handful. But yeah, there's some that stick out. Raphael, I think, is the first. I mean, obviously, it's the first one that came to mind. But Idris Elba was also awesome. So, yeah, there's some good ones. There's some really good ones. Gollum, yeah. Gollum. No, it was King Kong in the most recent Skull Island, whatever the hell it was called.
Where the leader was to turn in my mission, I was going up and all over the place. It was a little bit easy to get lost because of how many layers there are to each location. It's not something that should scare you from the game, but it's something you just need to be aware of if you're thinking of picking this one up, is that, yeah, the exploration, even in guided, can get a little confusing at times. Otherwise, the gameplay feels really fun. Like, I have to say, I enjoyed the mix of stealth and aggro gameplay, I guess you could say, where I would have my bow and arrow out. You could have like different arrow types for different situations. Of course, I'd use a normal arrow if I wanted to ensure I stayed quiet. You can actually use these arrows to take out the giant mechs if you hit them in a very particular weak spot, which I thought was really cool. Or you can just
okay, so that's an important note. He's saying it has to be in a particular weak spot. It's not just using regular arrows and shooting them anywhere. You have to hit them in a precise location. So that's good. Now, again, more information coming from different creators. I love it.
Straight up guns blazing. It's a little bit tough to stealth in this game with those robots running all over the place, which is why I think the hacking mini tool is great. It also creates a sense of tension because you're kind of sitting out there vulnerable trying to do this quick puzzle to deactivate it and either shoot the weak spot and move on with your life or just get by and avoid it at all costs. So I like that. What I was doing was an oil extractor mission where I had to take this thing down, and there were a number of objectives in there. I had to destroy a couple of drills. I had to deactivate a couple of towers and so on and so forth.
Okay, I'm going to say something, and I'm sorry because I think it's going to scar a lot of you, and I think you will never be able to unsee it, okay? Is everybody ready? Don't hate me, okay? It's going to bug the crap out of me as somebody that's like right-handed to have the Na'vi holding it in that left-handed position. It's like when I shoot a bow, I hold the bow with my left hand, pull it back with the right, and I do it like that. This is the opposite. Hold it with the right, pull back with the left. And that breaks my brain. It like, just thinking about it is like weirdly uncomfortable, you know? So now I think every time you play this or see this footage, it's going to start bugging you too if you're right-handed and this feels odd. But I'm sure it's, yeah, I mean, it's like not a big deal, but yeah, now that I've seen it, I can't unsee it.
in there. I had to destroy a couple of drills. I had to deactivate a couple of towers and so on and so forth. So this seems to be like what would be a central piece of the open world content. I didn't have that moment where I completed an objective and my map got filled with icons. And if it's like anything such as what I saw in the story mission, you destroy these aerial devices and then they'll ping that particular oil extractor on the map, which I think is fine. I'm okay with that, especially because the gameplay activities feel different with the aerial combat to boot, so it makes it a lot more enjoyable. There is progression in this game, as I'm sure you'd expect in a Ubisoft game nowadays, where you have skill trees, you have equipment, so skill trees are gradually unlocked through memories you obtain. For example, there's a skill tree dedicated to the Ecron, but that doesn't unlock until you get your own Ecron via a story mission. The skills are about what you'd expect in a Ubisoft open world game, like 10% more combat strength, you can carry more ammo for this type, so nothing too crazy there. Meanwhile, the equipment stuff kind of factors into the materials that you're going to gather, the currency that you're going to gather, the materials you can use to craft ammo on the fly. So like, for example, I ran out of assault rifle ammunition and I could use the materials I was picking up to craft some more and fire away. So the systems, yeah, kind of like feed into themselves, but the progression isn't anything you haven't seen before, unfortunately, but I do like that at least the Ecron has its own skill tree, which makes that part at least a little bit more distinct, where you can unlock a barrel roll, for example. You may be wondering about the story, because if the gameplay is very familiar to Far Cry fans, then this is going to be the separating factor. Unfortunately, I don't have too much to offer on that front, because the demo that we had, you would play a quest and then it would split off with a text box kind of explaining what happened in the meantime and then push you ahead to another area in the game. So it hopped around a bit, where I didn't really have a grip of what's going on beyond the human Navi conflict which was occurring, so I don't have any extra details on that. Given what I experienced in Assassin's Creed Mirage, in all truth, I'm not really holding my breath for an incredible narrative here, because I find that Ubisoft's writing has been kind of letting me down more and more and more over the years, where I can't remember outside like the Ezio trilogy the last time I went like, that's it, you guys got it. So I'm not really holding my breath here.
I mean, for me, last time Ubisoft like did a really good story, I mean, I think Bayek was actually a really good protagonist, and I'll fight anybody on that. I think, you know, Odyssey had a lot of really good smaller stories. I still remember freaking I talk about it all the time when I talk about like actual consequence in RPGs, because people just throw out Odyssey and they're like, yeah, it's bloated and boring. And I don't think that's actually a given. I think that usually is indicative of somebody that perhaps didn't play it, or it's been a while since they played it. Because like early in the game, there's that mission or the quest where you go and you're talking with like your kind of sister-like character, the Phoebe character, and she wants you to go save like her friend and her friend's family, because they're on a part of the island that is sick with the plague. And as a result, soldiers have gone in and they're killing everybody in the village and burning the bodies, because they have this plague that's going to spread to the whole island if they don't kind of squash it. And so you have the option to go in and save the family and let them survive, or let the soldiers do what they're doing. And they, unfortunately, they kill them, and then the bodies are burned and they kind of purify it. If you choose to let the soldiers do their thing, you come back later in the game and everything on the island is fine. Of course, Phoebe's not super thrilled, but because her friend died, but you know, it's not super consequential. If you choose to save the family and kill the guards instead, who are just trying to do what's best for the overall community on the island, you'll come back like 10 hours in game later and the whole island is overrun with this plague. And there's bodies piled up in the streets and they're all burning and everybody's dying. And it's like actually kind of horrifying. And you're like, that was me. That was my fault. Because of one decision I made, now on this island, the whole thing has gone to hell. And I think that's remarkable. I think that deserves praise and laudation. Granted, it's been a bit since we saw something on that level. In Valhalla,
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
Every time I hear it, there were a handful of, let's just say, strange quests. Like there was the one where they had that, I think he was a baseball player, and they have a whole quest line, like in Valhalla, that he's like the main character in, and you can so clearly tell he's not a voice actor. It was so bad. Like, yes, you hit the thing. Good job. Like, it was so bad. It was so bad. So I will grant you that writing with Ubisoft has not been stellar recently. And with Mirage, I totally agree. I mean, Mirage, I was really excited for as a more hardcore fan of the series. And I thought the entire narrative was like everybody had the flu for the entire runtime. Everything was just gravel, gravel, go here, super serious. Take out the target. Blah, blah, blah. It was very mind numbing. So I would agree. I would not hold out hope that this is going to be particularly shocking in the narrative department, but you never know. You never know. They didn't see anything with the story, but the other thing is that they apparently are working very closely or relatively closely with the team behind the films. So there's that. My counter would be that the films even are not particularly narratively stunning. They're more about the visual spectacle than anything else, but who knows? Maybe it'll surprise us all.
Here, but yeah, I wasn't able to really take in too many details. Did get a feel for the cutscenes, of course. Much like Far Cry, it's all played in first person. I will say, for those of you who had a pet peeve like me, it's something I called out in my Far Cry 5 review. Sometimes you don't feel like a human character, or in this case, a Navi character. By the way, the Navi you can customize. You couldn't do it in this demo, but it's something you can do. You didn't feel like someone standing in the scene. You could tell you were a cameraman in a mocap studio, the way you got awkwardly close to people, the way you silently approached people. It was just strange. With your character being voiced, it gives you a sense of place in the cutscenes, so it adds a little bit more there, but also the way the camera work is done removes some of that element that was something I was super critical of. I knew it was a nitpick for most people, but there were folks like me who were like, I just feel like I am watching action in a mocap studio and not a legitimate video game cutscene. So right now, I'm not getting those vibes here, which is something I always look for in a Ubisoft game, because they, and Immortals of Avium brought it back a little bit too, have been the most guilty parties of it. So overall, yeah, those are my thoughts on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. If you were to ask me, like, should I be excited? I would say, yeah, if you had this one on your wish list, there was nothing here that indicated to me that you should be concerned. I thought it was a fun time.
I don't think he's mentioned any technical issues either, so maybe he didn't run into that stuff or didn't see it.
Actually, which was kind of crazy to experience when I was just coming off of AC Mirage. We had this preview a couple of weeks ago at the time of this video going out, so I've had a lot of time to think about the game, and I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm really looking forward to that. And it was encouraging to see how they were handling this, because if I were to pick between the two, the game I'm looking most forward to from Ubisoft is Star Wars Outlaws. Like, I have wanted a Star Wars open world game for a while. I do have faith in Ubisoft and open world design still, so I'm very excited to see.
I just need some goddamn faith, Arthur. I do agree this looks really good. I'm super stoked on it. I hope this is really good too. This is coming from the same team though. So however Avatar turns out, I think will be very indicative of how this could turn out. But I can't be specific again. I have heard and seen things related to Star Wars Outlaws and the technology they're using within it that are just freaking insane. So if they actually keep it working and it stays together, I think this is going to be just a technical marvel when we actually see it in practice. There's some things they do in this demo, this trailer, that are very impressive and give you a taste of it. But seriously, there's some stuff they're doing with it where it's like, okay, this is the next gen game. And that's maybe what the takeaway from Avatar is going to be, is that, like, okay, this clearly was being developed on last gen consoles, ported forward to this one, and maybe it was a cross gen thing. Like, this is, but Outlaws is going to be the true next gen game. That's my feeling, at least.
How they take that one on. And so seeing how this one's being tackled and how it's faithful to the Far Cry formula while evolving it in ways that I thought made it more fun, I'm very excited to see how they tackle Star Wars Galaxy some more. So ladies and gentlemen, those are my thoughts on Avatar Frontiers of Pandora. Again, if you're interested in all this,
Interesting. Didn't have anything to say about bugs and stuff. Fascinating. People are giving him crap for the brutally honest. It's like people don't understand that these are series names. It's like my Skeptical Look series. I do a skeptical look at upcoming games that have a lot of hype surrounding them. And it's a series that we do. And people are like, oh, we know you're just trying to be skeptical again for the clicks. I'm like, bro, my whole point is that skepticism is good in general. Like, it's like people just don't understand the idea of a series of videos. It's just funny to me. Interesting. Okay, so if we compare the two, Maddie had generally positive things to say. Joe Raptor was actually a little more harsh. Joe Raptor had a lot more issues with bugs, pop-in, temporary assets, that kind of thing. And Joraptor didn't think the mini games were very interesting or fun, but Maddie didn't seem to mind them. So there's an interesting, like a handful of these things that are interesting. Yeah, I'm not sure if we need to do the IGN one now. I feel like they both covered a lot of it. So interesting. How precarious, how peculiar. Yeah. I mean, my guess, my gut feeling with it is that it's probably going to come out. It's probably going to be like a 7 or 8 out of 10 for most people. And that's not necessarily bad. I mean, that's a good game. That's not, you know, a great game. It's not a masterpiece, but it's good. And I don't think I can expect too much more from it than that. Anything above that, of course, would be awesome. That, you know, it'd be a win-win. But I would guess we probably end up somewhere in that 7 to 8 out of 10 range. And for a licensed game, honestly, that's not that bad, because these games are notoriously rough. Shill Up is good, and they got to talk with the devs. Okay. You should do a dual stream with Boogie. Oh, is Boogie live right now? If he's live on Twitch, yeah. I mean, I want to see that documentary. I think it comes out tomorrow. I want to see that Boogie duck. Because I don't know what that's going to be like. It seems, the fact that they're acknowledging that it seems like a pity party, that's all I can really ask for. But I mean, I guess we'll see. Have you heard from the director if we can stream it? No. My guess is no. But I mean, Twitch is a wild west. After like a few days of it being out, I think it's not that big of a deal. Or I'll watch and then we'll do a segment. We'll talk about it. You gonna live react the doc? Well, part of it, I don't know how long it is. Is it one of these like feature length documentaries? It's gonna be 2 hours long, or is it gonna be like 30 minutes? I don't know. See, I'm not used to this whole streaming thing where like now everybody does reactions to reactions to reactions. I can't keep up with it. I guess I need to do my SS Sniper Wolf deep dive and training course on how to be a streamer, but I'm just not accustomed to it. You know, XQC. Well, yeah, that's when you react to it while also doing a gambling stream, while also having mobile games pulled up, and then also watching Family Guy at the same time. Yeah. Looks like it's less than an hour long. Okay. It's lean. I don't know. I hope that it's good and strikes a balance. I just think with so many of these LOLcow types, like there's no good like there's no positive outcome. Like it's only going to be lose-lose. There's nothing you can do. Like you're not going to get anything out of it. Like if he's super honest and he's just like, I'm having a mental breakdown and I am a disaster. I ruined my own career and it's all my fault because of my choices. And he just says it all precisely exactly how people would like him to say it. People are going to be like, oh, well, this is just a pity party. He's just trying to tell us what we want to hear. You know, like there's no good way to deal with it. There's nothing actually to do from it. You should do an I tried for the 2009 movie tie-in game. Everyone says it's decent. Oh, really? Oh, interesting. Oh, and there's a new Avatar gameplay trailer. Oh, this is from the old game. So this is the old 2009 game. The third person view actually looks decent. Honestly, for 2009, this ain't bad. Yeah. Doesn't look bad for 2009. Not bad. You don't have to, or excuse me, you don't have to react to the long CitizenCon stuff Level Cap Gaming did in over 20-minute summary. Oh, okay. Would you go on PKA podcast? Asks Rango for 2. Thank you for the 2. Yeah, I mean, I'm open to it. I've watched a lot of PKA, but I mean, let's be honest. I am like semi-obsessed with a lot of these LOLcow types. So I'd go on and the whole show would just be talking about Boogie and Only Use Me Blade and DSP and Wings of Redemption and those guys. Like, it would just be, if people were like, oh, you got Luke on, you're gonna talk about games? No, I mean, I just the whole time we'd just be talking about LOLcows the whole time. But yeah, I mean, I think it'd be fun. They seem like fun guys. Luke, what would you rate Starfield? For me, it's like an 8. For hardcore Bethesda fans, probably a 9. Oh Lord, DSP is something. Yeah, dude. DSP is the one that I've been digging into recently, and it's just, the deeper you go in the DSP rabbit hole, the more insane it gets. Like, you're talking about somebody that has like an actual addiction to e-begging. Like, Keem offered him 50 grand. He said, you'll make 50 grand doing this podcast. Because they were going to do the LOLcow podcast, where it was going to be him, Wings, and Boogie just talking on a podcast about stuff. And then Keem was going to manage it. And he's like, you'll make 50 grand doing this. You want to do it? Just like for an hour a week of his time. And he said no. Can you imagine saying no to 50 G's for an hour of your time? It's not even like that. It's not a huge humiliating thing. It's just like, yeah, you're kind of a LOLcow, so you're going to come on a podcast and answer questions and like tell stories and stuff with other LOLcows. And you turn it down. Like, what? To me, it's, well, yeah, it's Keemstar. You got to give him that. But to me, it also seems that it's like, if he takes it, he's admitting he's a LOLcow, and he still takes himself so seriously that he won't acknowledge that. Like, he can't admit to himself that he's a LOLcow, so he just rejects it. Like, and this is one of those things where like he is like obsessed with saying that his content's meaningful for some reason.
How is my playthrough of a game meaningful? Well, let's would you like to analyze that? I mean, we don't have a lot of time. We're already running late. Okay?
Bear in mind, he's known to be like a particularly lazy streamer where he doesn't actually like play the game. He'll go and then stare at chat for where he should go and what he should do next, and then he will just follow that. Like, he doesn't actually do any of these things himself, which is just really funny. It's ridiculous. Snort, yeah. Well, you listen to the music of this, right? Listen to the intro.
Well, let me tell you something, brother. Snort, snort, snort. Call you drip. Snort, snort.
I got the drip, though.
Oh, look at this. Why is my playthrough of a game meaningful?
Like, I'm going to be real. If I'm playing through a game and I'm streaming it, I wouldn't call that meaningful. Like, honestly, I hope that you, if you're watching, you find it entertaining or like you enjoy yourself, of course. I wouldn't call it meaningful. Like, even a lot of the stuff that I do, would I call it meaningful? Like, I don't know. We're talking about video games. Like, I don't know if I'd call it meaningful. You know, hopefully entertaining, maybe just like at the very least interesting with some stuff. But like, what does meaningful content even mean? You know, like, what does that even mean?
Well, number one, I have absolutely no vested interest whatsoever in any playthrough that I do. You never have to worry that because Phil's playing a game, it's because he's getting paid to play it, or he thinks that hating on the game is going to give him some kind of notoriety or popularity.
Except he's well known for doing what's called wage quitting instead of rage quitting. It's wage quitting, where he'll stop playing a game just because it's not bringing in tips and donations. Again, bear in mind, in case you forgot, this is the guy that has spent allegedly over $100,000 on a WWE mobile game that's like Candy Crush with WWE sweaty JPEGs that he can play with. Like, he cries about needing money and having to pay bills and stuff, and then turns around and spends over $100,000 on a mobile game. Like, I feel for him because he's actually like addicted. That is, to do that, you have to be pretty far down the rabbit hole of gambling addiction to want to pull these sweaty JPEG pulls. Like, that's bad, and I feel for you because that's something deep in your brain. But when you're lying to people about what you need your money for, and then you spend the money on a WWE Candy Crush ripoff, like, you're a scammer. You're lying to your audience. You're a scammer, and I get to make fun of you. Them's the rules. Them's the rules. Just like if I was telling you guys, hey guys, really tough situation. We have this medical bill that's going to be, I don't know, $5,000. We got to pay it. Let's raise some money for it. And we raised the money. And then you found out that I was spending it on Fortnite skins. You'd be like, what the hell, Luke? You would understandably tear me a new one. That would be fair if I did that. And then this guy is doing the same thing, saying he needs all this money for donos, and then spending it on a Candy Crush ripoff. Yeah. Oh, yeah. But are the skins tasteful? Are the skins meaningful? That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question.
Because guess what? I stay in my lane. I make content for an audience, and the content is curated specifically for that audience. I have no...
This is the other thing he's been saying, because people will say, hey, your content is just not competitive with the other guys. He's been doing this 15 years, and he still doesn't edit his own videos. He doesn't tweak any of his videos. All of his gameplay footage, DSP Gaming, all of his playthroughs are just like this, with the same logo or same thumbnail, copy and pasted across all of them. And it's just hour-long segments where he hits record on OBS while streaming, and he records for an hour and then stops the recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Alan Wake 2. This is actually my third session of the game and the second day playing it. And as you can...
While he's streaming, he just does this. This is like the whole thing. And then he goes for an hour, and then he stops the recording.
The playthrough, which I sure I am. It just got even more interesting. If you're watching on demand, please do that. Me that favor. Perhaps you'd like to leave a super thanks or maybe consider a tip. That would all be greatly appreciated. Of course,
give me money.
Thanks for the audience watching live, and let's take a quick break and then continue. Here we go.
And then he hits stop record, and like, this is his content. This is his meaningful content. So what he says in response to that, of people being like, hey, your content seems really lazy compared to other YouTubers, he says, no, it's curated. So if you don't like it, it's because it's not being curated to you. It's a you problem. Like, it's so freaking stupid. It doesn't make any sense at all. Like, what are we doing? He definitely has a Pornhub paid subscription. Probably did. Like, at this point, if you're that bad with money at this point, like, and I think that that's the thing, is the reason he turned down Keem for that $50,000 payday is because he knew he would have spent the money instantaneously. He knows, like, that he probably would spend it on WWE Champions that night that he got the check, and then he'd have no money, but he wouldn't be able to e-beg on streams because everybody would be like, you just got 50K from Keemstar, so why are you complaining about this? Like, why are you asking for more money? And it would be because he spent all that money on it.
No aspirations for any content that I put out to explode in popularity and go viral on YouTube and make me $1 bajillion. In fact,
so he has no aspirations for his content to be well received or popular.
Those days are long gone.
How is this an answer to how it's meaningful? You're just describing how it's unremarkable and uninteresting and unpopular. Like, you're describing why is your content meaningful, Luke? Because everyone hates it and it doesn't do well on the algorithm, and very, very few people watch it. Like, how is that? Oh, good answer, Luke. Good answer. Yes.
I feel like I'm too old for that, and on top of that, I'm too hated from a bunch of idiots on the internet who turn me into a negative meme. So nothing I say or do is going to explode on YouTube and get popularity. Therefore, you know I'm not going to be unfair to a game for the sake of clickbait, but you also know I'm not getting paid to kiss a game's butt. You watch a playthrough of mine, it is 100% transparency and honesty of playing that game. You see my experience? That's the kind of raw experience you're going to get if you play that game. at least if you're not an expert like me, because I'm not an expert at most of these games I play. Very few games where I consider myself like an educated expert. That's got value, because I hate to say it, the vast majority of people out there usually have a vested interest one way or the other. They really do. Anyone who's getting a game for free because they're in line with the company and they get games for free to play them ahead of time, of course they have a vested interest to say the game's better than it is. Because if they say it's better, they stay in the good graces of those companies and they continue to get free shit.
Which is just insane, because like, how do you explain, I guess, creators like me who get sent games and collector's editions? Ubisoft sent me the collector's edition for
Assassin's Creed Valhalla.
And I called that game a travesty of open world design. Like, I tore it a new one. I said that game is horrible. Like, I hate it. But no, yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah, when you get the game and you have a relationship with the publishers, yeah, you can't trust anything anybody says. It's such like a Reddit, like neckbeard approach to it, where people are just like, oh, well, clearly you review the game, so you're bought and paid for. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Like, what are you actually talking about? It's so insane. It's so insane. Like, it's just, there's the look. Oh my God, the look of, I can't, dude. Oh man. Yeah, there's so many examples of this guy just being unreal. Hello, you saved me from buying Valhalla once. Oh, good. I'm glad. Let's see. Oh, this is one of the meaningful pieces of content he's made. This is from Herobrine on Twitch. He just sent this over. Few have mastered it. Many have died attempting it. Darkside Phil strives for the impossible. The crouch jump. Oh, I remember this. Yeah, to do this, you have to tap spacebar and left control. Yeah, this is how he made videos into like 2012, 2013, maybe even later. He would just set up a like video camera pointed at his TV, and that's how he made all of his videos. And bear in mind, this guy also has over 100,000 uploads on his channels. Like, he is the definition of quantity over quality for sure.
Whoa. Well, here goes. Geronimo! Nope, that's not what I was supposed to do, I guess, because I'm dead. What am I supposed to do then? No, I'm not supposed to do that, huh? No, I'm not supposed to do that, huh?
He was stuck on this
Platform on the pipes, I see.
for like an hour and a half. And what's even more amazing is that this was recorded and then he uploaded this. Like, this was so embarrassing, you'd think that he would have said, screw it, I'm not going to publish this video.
Come on, let me jump on this fucking barrel, man. Come on, I can't even make it up here. Are you serious? I'm gonna take a barrel with him everywhere he goes.
This guy plays games for a living. This guy makes more money, most likely, than you do every year.
Basic jumps. You'd think there's like a super jump or something, you know?
Almost. Oh God. Yeah, and it just keeps going. It keeps going. So yeah, there's never a dull moment with the one and only Darkside Phil. It's just, as I said last week, he is an intro level LOLcow. So you don't, like, you start with DSP, and then if you want, you can go and watch some like King Cobra, like the hair dye video and stuff like that. You know, like, you can watch these old videos of King Cobra and get acclimated with him doing stuff where he tried to dye his own hair and it did not end well. It stained his forehead blue for like weeks. He tried to dye his mustache too black and he just ended up with a weird mustache. And So like this is it, and then after King Cobra, you probably move on, and maybe you watch like, yeah, maybe you watch Wings. I say Wings is maybe even Wings is like the first step before DSP. I don't know, they're close. They're both like pretty casual, and then King Cobra is a little beyond that. He's a little more insane. The end boss of LOLcows though is this guy Cyrax. Yeah, Cyrax is like he's like the deepest, darkest level, like the most depraved, insane, evil person right here. So you only get into Cyrax once you've had your fill of all the other LOLcows, and you need something even more insane to get your high, you know? Chris Chan is almost beyond LOLcows. You know, he's like above and beyond everything. I've never heard of any of these people. Yeah, that's a horror movie character. People say, and again, I would never make fun of somebody for the way they look, but this guy is allegedly a pedo fork, shall we say. He has interest in people much younger than him. He's been caught trying to talk to them and sending illicit images to them. He also is like a liar. He's assaulted his own grandmother. Like, he's just a horrible, horrible person. And at that point, I don't care. I get to make fun of you. So with Cyrax, yeah, one of the most common things people say is that he looks like a 1980s practical effect monster. And I think that that's quite accurate. Yeah. Wish I never saw these people, but now I'm educated. Well, there you go. He's wish.com has been gold. That's horrible. Oh, no. That's horrible. That's so mean. Oh, wow. That's so bad. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. What's a LOLcow? A LOLcow is basically like somebody on the internet. I mean, I'm sure they have the actual definition on like Urban Dictionary or something. But it's somebody that's on the internet, puts content out, is commonly like mocked for it because they think that they are trying, like they think they're really serious and really good at something, when in reality everybody's laughing at them, not with them. So it would be like, you know, one of these musicians who thinks that their stuff is really, really good when it's actually horrible, and then everybody's kind of laughing at them for being so not self-aware. It's like this: a person or group of people laughed at for actions they take despite not trying to be funny. They may try to take themselves seriously, but are often milked for laughs with or without their knowledge. So like DSP thinking his content is meaningful and totally not seeing how ridiculous that is. Just missing it. That's why he's a LOLcow, because he takes himself super seriously, and, you know, people kind of laugh at him. So, Yoko Ono much? Yeah, Yoko, if she had a bigger online presence, would probably be a LOLcow. I'd say so. Can you get Chris Chan on the pod? Chris Chan has apparently been doing streams and stuff. Apparently. Oh, Boogie watched his own documentary? Oh, it premieres in 24 hours. October 31st at 1 p.m. So in exactly a day, the Boogie documentary goes up. It seems really well filmed and put together. Like the guys, I don't know if he's done other documentaries and stuff, but he seems to know what he's doing.
Well, I did it. I finally saw the final version of the documentary Mike Klum filmed at my house over the last 9 months. The one that you'll get a chance to see on October 31st. Link will be down below. Now, until this thing premieres on the 31st, I can't show you a lot of clips, but I'm going to show you some clips from the documentary as well as extended scenes that didn't make the final cut.
Tell me a little bit about your background and where you think you want to go with the experience that you already have.
I've never been balls. I have no clue where the fuck I am or even who I am. I don't give a fuck.
See, like, it seems well put together. It's high production value at the very least. I don't know Mike Klum. Mike Klum. Is he like somebody new? Video production? guessing this is like actual film work. Clum Creative. Cleveland Video Production, Creative Service Agency. He's worked on a bunch of different stuff. Okay.
So when Mike Klum said he wanted to break into doing documentaries and wanted me to be one of the first ones, I thought, as well as him, that the best thing to do would be just to show you myself, warts and all. Since I've been with Desi for 6 months at this point, I plan to be with her forever. So here's some clips that you can expect when it involves this relationship status.
Oh, does the holding it 2x speed work on console too?
And her in general.
So knowing the fame doesn't play a role. Knowing the money doesn't play
Yeah, this is his girlfriend.
a role. How me? Why me? I forget everything else. How?
See, this looks, I gotta hand it to it. This cinematography is top notch. Look at this shot. I mean, the lighting is sick. I gotta know how they do this. Cause like, I'd want to do a podcast lit like this. He's got a really nice LUT put on it too. But I mean, it's very well done.
How? I don't get it. I understand why they don't get it, because I don't get it.
Aww.
I just count my blessings. I just wake up every day and I'm like, oh, thank you, God. I go to bed every night and I'm like, thank you, universe. I say thank you to you too, right? Yeah. But like, how? Why? How?
Because like I felt your energy and like I knew you were sad and I don't want you to be sad anymore or alone. I don't ever want to be alone. I know you don't want to be alone. Money can't buy love or happiness, you know? And I get that with you. Without all this money, you know, you buy me all these gifts and stuff and it's nice, but you're more than all that.
Another really big one that I wanted to cover in this documentary is finances. Because people have always...
Oh wait, Boogie, what was that? That was actually good. Did Boogie cut this together? You see what he did there? Look at this. So this is in the tighter cinematic aspect ratio, and then it cuts.
Nice, but you're more than all that.
Another really big one.
He keeps the aspect ratio so it's not as jarring, and then pulls it away after a second. That's actually well done.
One that I wanted to cover in this documentary is finances.
I like that.
Because people have always extremely overestimated how much money I made. And then the way that I spent my money was very stupid. I made a lot of very stupid mistakes. I wanted to address this in this documentary, show you the receipts, show you how much money I had, showed you the stuff that was in my home, showed you exactly what it is I've done to screw up my life this much, and hopefully recover from it.
Shit.
Yeah, that little... Oh, I love these transitions to the cinematic aspect ratio. I'm geeking out on this. That was well done. Okay. See, now I'm actually like, okay.
I'm worthless.
$750,000 in savings. And that was when? 2019. Dude, with the 750... So, to be clear, what is... Like, your typical return in something like a well-funded ETF that's pretty liquid is like 6%. So just off of that 6%, you're taking in $45K a year. I don't know if he owned his house free and clear. Maybe they'll say that. That's a lot of money in savings, but this is not like retirement money. Retirement money, if you want to not live in, I mean, if you own your house free and clear, that's different. But your goal for retirement should be to have so much money in savings that the 6-ish% interest on that money being put into a compounding account could be basically like a new salary, but you just never have to work for it because your money's making the money for you. So like, that's good. I would have bought like an apartment building or two with this money used as the down payment. But what are you gonna do? Metal Crazy, first time on a live stream. Thank you, my friend. I'm glad to have you. He's now facing bankruptcy and foreclosure, so he didn't pay his house off.
For me, was like gambling. It's like opening a pack of magic cards, or it's like going to a casino.
I might come out really high, I might come out really low, but in the end, the house fucking always wins, and that's what happened here.
Well, and this is why I've told people, not official financial advice, let me be clear. Crypto is not investing, okay? For the love of God. If you say that you're going to invest in crypto, I want to slap you upside the head, because that's not how it works, and you're going to lose your money if you think about it that way. Crypto is not investing. Even stock options for most people are not investing, because they don't know enough about what they're doing for it to be considered investing. What it is something called speculating. And speculating is just a fancy, educated word for gambling. You're hoping it goes up, and that's really all there is to it. With Bitcoin, the only thing that makes it go up is everybody agreeing it should go up. And then it bids up and it goes up. That's it. Whereas if you invest in shares of, say, Apple, you're investing in the company, and if the company does better, your share of the company will be worth more because the company will be worth more. Very, very different. Very. One is entirely dependent on the luck of the draw and hoping people just decide this is worth more. And the other is based on an actual business, profitability metrics, proper management, product lineups and timings. Like, very, very, very different. And so this was what was really tragic, unfortunately, about all of this stuff back in like 2017, 18, 19, 20, where crypto was starting to boom and people thought you could just buy a share of Bitcoin and next year it'll be worth 2x. And a lot of people like Boogie lost all of their money because it worked for 6 months. It worked for a year. And then when it crashed, it really crashed. And the thing with all of this, a couple of people win big. Some, like the top people at the top of the pyramid, they make all the money because they sell their 30% of all available Ethereum or whatever coin it might be. They sell all of that at once, take the big bag, and then everybody realizes everybody's selling stuff off, and 30% of the shares of this Bitcoin, whatever alternative, just liquefied. And so then they all sell and it plummets it to zero. And I mean, this unfortunately is what happened to Boogie, but this is why, like, a lot of people who knew what they were doing with finance tried to warn everybody to stay the hell away from crypto because it's not an investment. It's gambling. And if you understand it's gambling, okay, but you have to approach it that way, where whatever money you put in, you have to be willing to lose completely. Just like when you go and play craps or blackjack or whatever in Vegas, you have to be willing to walk away with zero. You might walk away with more. You might also walk away with absolutely nothing. And unfortunately, a lot of people like Boogie put their life savings into crypto and they lost absolutely freaking everything.
My initial seed money was about $175,000. And after having to spend money over the last 2 years to stay alive, and after the two big crashes, $31,000 is what I have left. That would not.
Why don't you just sell it right now?
I keep convincing myself it'll go back up. And if it goes back up, I can make some of my money back. But if I pull it out, then what? I'll spend it on a handful of bills and I'll be broke again? Like, there's a chance, a small chance, that this could go back up.
This is called the sunk cost fallacy. This is something that's like a well-known actual like fallacy in logic and also in finance in general. If you buy something that is plummeting, like, you shouldn't try to be reactionary, but like, for example, if 10 years ago I bought a bunch of shares of Bed Bath & Beyond, and then post-COVID, I realized, hey, Bed Bath & Beyond, they don't seem to be able to keep up with Amazon or these other retailers. I think their business is going out. And their shares have started to drop. And I evaluate it, and I say, listen, the business isn't keeping up. I think they're going to go bankrupt, and all of these Bed Bath & Beyonds are going to close, and the business will die. If I said to myself, I agree with all of that, but if I sell it now, I'm just like accepting that I've lost all that money. I'll just hold out hope and keep my money in the company that's clearly failing because I don't like, I'd like the possibility that it recovers somehow. That's the sunk cost fallacy, where you're like, well, I'm in too deep now, and you can't think that way. This is why they've always said investing is not that complicated. You find good businesses, you invest in them, you know, you hold to a certain select set of rules. But almost no one has the mindset for investment. Almost no one has the rationale and the level-headed nature to just be like, no, I mean, this stock did this today, so we're going to sell it and we're going to buy this one. People get emotionally attached to it, and people start to act like it's their team that they're rooting for. It gets really weird and kind of toxic as time goes by. And it's just really, really unhealthy, which is why a lot of people hire other people to manage their money for them once they start to make real money and have a good chunk of it set aside, because then those people will deal with it with a totally unbiased approach. And that's how you have to do it, frankly.
And I'm willing to risk everything, because if I pull it out right now, I still have nothing. I pay off part of the house and it's just gone.
So on October 31st...
It's not, though. You're paying off part of the house and you gain, hopefully, a good chunk of equity in the house as a result. That's how it should work, at least. You just can't think of it that way. And this is why, I mean, it's why people typically say people that are bad with money end up broke. Like, and if you're broke, it's possibly, not always, it's possibly because you're bad with money. If you understand money, you can grow it, you can take care of it, and you know where to put it and how to protect it and when to get out to avoid losing more of it. You know, you can play the game, basically. But if you're bad with money, it doesn't matter how much money you make as a YouTuber with millions of subscribers, you're going to end up broke again because you don't know how to deal with it. Hate on Keemstar all you want. Keemstar at least knows how to use money and how to deploy it. The dude got his bag from all of his YouTube shows and channels, and now he's freakishly wealthy and he can do whatever he wants because he knows what to do with the money. You know, he learned how to play the game. Whereas like a Boogie and DSP and King Cobra and all these other YouTubers and Wings of Redemption, you know, they all had the chance to make decent money and then squandered it.
Let's watch this thing, and afterwards I will show you some clips that didn't make the final cut. How much per year should I be earning?
I would say at least over 150.
Do you legitimately want a girlfriend? I mean this legitimately.
I wonder, who is that supposed to be?
Do you legitimately...
Afterwards, I would...
At least over 150.
So is this like a girl he went on a date with that said he had to make over 150? Or is this another YouTuber or streamer that said he, based on his channels, he should be making 150? I don't know. I don't understand this part.
Do you legitimately want a girlfriend? I mean this legitimately.
My name is Desiree Davis, and...
Wasn't his last, like his wife named Des as well? Or am I making that up? Is that not a little weird? I don't know. Granted, I've dated, like, before, of course, meeting and marrying my lovely wife, Nikki. I dated 3 Graces and I dated 3 Laurens. So I guess it's not that weird. I guess they just kind of end up gravitating together. Yeah. So I guess I can't really throw stones.
Who I am? I'm a camera girl.
She's 20 and you're 49.
Hey, I just turned 49.
Have you ever thought about the fact that she's just waiting you out and trying to take your 401k when you're done?
I really want to get one. They are expensive as hell, though.
I ended up getting one, and I know I can't really like afford it, but do you want to see my moon today? Is that what you're saying? I have no ass. Where is my ass, Mike?
We're gonna write this story you can stick to, but dude, you gotta let that mindset go.
It's tough.
All right, man, let's go second round here.
So I mean, this was like a fresh haircut. So now he's recording this bit, and he's pretty shaggy. So these clips are probably 6 months old.
20 of these.
Being in the new relationship is great, but I mean, she can't help pay a $2,200 mortgage.
We got back to the hotel, and I do regret to say that I slept with Boogie 2 nights 8.
So I deserve to go to Disneyland with a beautiful girl, right? I deserve to go to New York and explore Times Square with a beautiful girl.
And you're using weight and disability. I can't.
Oh,
If
no,
that is
dude.
the attitude that you're going to have when you approach everything, then you can't.
Is he? Oh no. I think he just, is he just like openly gonna be admitting and showing that he like used like those escorts and like he paid for some of these girls to hook up with it? Like that's kind of like, we make fun of DSP. Well, I guess it's, you know what, Boogie I think still is better than DSP. Because at least Boogie's getting some poontang, whereas DSP is spending it on sweaty pictures of wrestlers. I'm sorry. The DSP thing is so insane to me. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited. I hope the documentary is really good. I'm excited to see it. I want to see it. I mean, what are some of these comments? Instead of documentary, why not just focus on content, get back to gaming, get into reviews? You have the subs. I know it's easier said than done, but just go for it. I mean, I used to, but like Boogie was at his peak when he was just talking about games. He wasn't trying to do the drama stuff. I think part of his downfall was, of course, his wife leaving. And then secondly, it was, I think a lot of it was his friendship with that guy, McJuggernuggets, and kid behind the camera. Like, he got close to these people who had fake content and fake drama and would just make up storylines for clicks and clickbait and everything. And so everybody he was talking to for advice on his channel, which was starting to kind of dip a little, was telling him, oh, create these skits, make up stories and do all this. And it was the worst advice he could have possibly gotten. And he just lost who he actually was. Like back 2014 Boogie, he was like Young and Skill Up and all of these other guys put together to make gaming commentary videos and deal with drama on the internet with regard to gaming and just call it out. Like, it was great. But I don't know. He's admitted to using prostitutes before. Oh God. There we go. Are we back? It's weird. It started sending 30,000 kilobytes a second. And then, of course, it was like, can't handle that. And so it started dropping frames. And now it's back where it's supposed to be. That was weird. It like went into overdrive and tried to send 3-4 times the bit rate it's supposed to. That was weird. Huh. So he's admitted to using prostitutes. That's, man. Yeah, Boogie overload. Wow. So I don't know. We'll see the documentary. We'll see. We'll see. It seems well put together, and as long as they can kind of deal with it and address things directly, that's all I'm looking for. So yeah. Does Sniper Wolf count as a LOLcow? Maybe. I don't know enough about Sniper Wolf and that content to say. I really don't know. Maybe. I don't know how many people watch and like make fun. But I like typically LOLcows are not actually that popular. Typically LOLcows don't have millions of followers active, don't have hundreds of thousands of views. Like normally, they don't. Yeah, tight. Thank you for the 11 months. Gee whiz. Just started Cyberpunk 2077, first playthrough with Phantom Liberty, having trouble deciding on character build.
Tight is now a red flag. Just started
Any
Cyberpunk
suggestions? Honestly, I would suggest playing it in whatever way you didn't before. Like if you played through with like stealth or sniping or whatever else, I would highly encourage you to try like heavy augmentations, try a melee build with like the whatever gorilla arms or the mantis blades. Try stuff like that. Just shake it up. Shake it up. Her fans genuinely love her. Yeah, see what I mean? Stream died when I joined on my phone. I apologize. How dare you, Forged. That stand up behind Luke got me. Thought a dude was lurking back there. Yeah, no, I pay him. Yeah. She doesn't really care though. Well, and that's the difference also is LOLcows typically really care. Like they do not want to acknowledge any of it. Or they acknowledge it constantly. The people that end up kind of shaking the LOLcow trends, they are the ones that can handle it better. But usually if someone's a LOLcow, they will like talk about their trolls constantly, or like DSP calls them detractors or whatever else. I bet she thinks she's making meaningful content. Yeah. It's meaningful content because I play the games and I don't try very hard to make them more popular. Is Reforged Gaming a LOLcow? I think, is that the one? Is he like the hardcore Sony pony? I mean, the problem is he has people that unironically follow him and are like that deep into the console war BS that they actually hold to that, which is madness, but there are some people that actually do that. My favorite build is what I call the Punisher. Guns, guns, and more guns. Oh, that's good. Muffin Man, good to see you. Do you know the Muffin Man? Well, sometimes we do laugh at Luke, like when he drops a light on his head. That was unironically hilarious. Yeah, I'm trying to show you like the new studio, the lights and stuff, and then it attacks me and nearly cracks my head open. That was really funny. Let's see, Mr. Raves, since you are co-streaming, what program or method do you use when multi-streaming on more than one platform? Do you also combine chat? I'm trying to use Streamlabs desktop. I'm realizing now why I left and stopped using it, and it's because it does this weird thing where it drops randomly and the bitrate plummets and has issues. I remember this now being an issue. I thought they would have fixed it after 6 months, or a year, or however long it's been, but apparently they haven't. So I'm remembering now why I stopped using Streamlabs. Normally I use OBS, so we'll see how co-streaming works on OBS once I swap back to that for the next stream. As for combining chats, I just have Twitch and YouTube pulled up, and so I'm looking at them both at the same time. And then as for putting chat on screen and stuff, I know that Twitch specifically said they do not allow you, if you want to remain partner, to combine chats and stuff like that. They want to keep them separate. So trying to follow the policy there. Are you gonna watch, or are you watching / gonna do a video for Five Nights at Freddy's the movie? I'm not actually sure. I think I missed the initial wave of it, but I've been wanting to watch it. I might watch it tonight actually. Alphatron, thank you for the 10. Hey Luke, I got to a particular point in the Crimson Fleet quest in Starfield, and I'm happy to report that there's a bug that won't let me continue. So this message is for Bugthesta. Thank you. Oh no, Alphatron. The mighty touch of Todd has touched you.
We're aiming for a controversial 7 out of 10.
That's amazing. I'm sorry. I had that happen too, where I had characters just float up out of the ship and it broke the game. Like I've had that happen. So you were not alone, unfortunately. Oh no, Tanner, Godspeed, good luck. Dib's being weird right now. Yeah, I'm having weird like visual distortions and glitches on it too. It's weird. I recommend trying Restream though. I've heard good things about it for streaming on multiple platforms at the same time. Yeah, I think we might try popping over there. That might be what we do. What do you hope to see as side content in Code Red? Would you want to see more side content like Valhalla or more side content like Origins and Odyssey? I would rather Odyssey. Honestly, I thought Odyssey had some very good side quests, very memorable, well put together, good cinematic camera. Like, I hope they just double down on that stuff. I will never say be more like Valhalla. I will never say that. Let's see. Have you heard about the Bungie news? Layoffs and final DLC delayed till Q4 of next year. Oh, really? Oh, God. I mean, is Destiny 2... Okay, do we have any Destiny 2 players in chat? How is Destiny 2 recently? I thought it was doing well. Are they having problems? I don't know. I thought Destiny 2 was doing well. Maybe they're in trouble. Maybe they've had a couple of releases that weren't great. Who knows? A little unrelated, but there's an upcoming film called Hitman. It's not based off of the game, but it's kind of similar, and it's a lot of fun. Would highly recommend. Oh, really? Hitman. I mean, when I see it pop up in theaters, I'll know what it is, because it's a very... as a name, it's very recognizable. You can still use normal OBS too, it seems like. Yeah, you can. I've tried it a couple of times. It won't support AV1 in like encoding, but neither can any of the co-streaming nor Twitch, so it is what it is. Let's see. Fresh Kills. Thank you for the 10. My goodness, thank you. Hey Luke, should I upgrade my PC RTX 2070s 3700X 48 gigs of RAM? Oh baby. Because it's starting to feel like games are getting a little too demanding, like Alan Wake 2. If so, should I save up for the 5,000 or 500 series? I would say start saving up, because whatever they end up doing with that 5,000 series is going to be ridiculous. If they like DLSS 3.5 is madness. Imagine what 4.0 is going to be like, and it's probably going to be locked to the like 40 series top cards and the 50 series is my guess. So I would start saving, because future proofing is always a good bet and a good investment. And at this point, I mean, when did the 2070 come out? 2018. So yeah, it's 5 years old. It's getting there. It was a very good card when it launched. Now it's still a good card, but you're right. I mean, games are only going to be getting more demanding in the next couple of years. And the next couple of years is when we're going to start seeing games that were like built from the ground up, from scratch for the PS5 and Series X console generation. So you're going to start to see a lot of games really push the graphical boundary. So I would definitely say like upgrading is a good idea. I wouldn't jump on a 40 series. I'd probably at this point wait for the 50s, but you also have to be ready. I mean, when the 50 series comes out, I'm sure it's going to be sold out freaking everywhere, like the 40 series was. I mean, that was madness. What do you keep fidgeting with over there? This is like a weird, it's like the plastic rubber piece I put under my desk to run the headphone cable from my headphone amp through, so that the cable doesn't get caught in the wheels of the chair, but it popped off. The little arm of the chair popped it off. So I've just been playing with it. It just feels good, you know? Wasn't a lot of that crypto mining. Yeah, I that's my understanding at least. Fully expecting 500 gigabyte game soon. Yeah, well, especially if they start doing that like voxel data, and they start doing some of this crazy like photogrammetry, ultra high resolution stuff, and especially like the current consoles claim to support 8K, even though let's be real, they don't. They can technically output an 8K signal through HDMI 2.0 is my understanding of why they can say that, but I think what we'll see is when they do that mid-gen refresh with the PS5 Pro, you'll probably see them release a couple of games that support like upscaled 8K gameplay, which is ridiculous. Nobody needs that. But I think you'll start to see them do that and like describe it in that way. And at that point, maybe you start to see like another wave and push for some of these new graphics cards and stuff. But I'm trying to figure out what the next big thing is going to be for graphics hardware, you know? Because it seems like there's been the push around ray tracing. That's kind of calming down. People are like, okay, yeah, we've seen that. And then it was all DLSS to make ray tracing possible and viable. And now, like, what's the next big wave? You know, what's going to be the next big thing? And I honestly am not sure. It looked like it was going to be fast load times with the SSDs in the PS5 and Series X, but at this point, who knows? PS5 Pro, based on the leaks, will come out in like the end of next year. So if you can't wait to get get a PS5 in November Slim version. Yeah. Yeah. But to be fair, it doesn't look like there's going to be a spring, like a big spring release for the PS5. At least, is there anything announced right now? I don't think so. So, Lumen is just like a really cool kind of hybrid renderer, is my understanding, between rasterizing and global illumination. It's their global illumination solution, but it's not like full GI or anything. So, it can offer you great lighting, a better performance in theory. But yeah, I mean, what I was saying with the 8K stuff though is once they push 8K, that's when you're going to see game sizes get ridiculous. Specifically, they'll probably have it so like you can download the HD texture pack, you know, like they've had with some games, but it'll be download the 8K texture pack, and that alone is probably going to be like, you know, a 50 gig download. Would be my guess. Final Fantasy VII Part 2, but that's a third-party game. That's Square Enix with like an exclusivity deal. That's where I'm honestly not sure where, like, what the crossover is. I don't know if, like, if they're counting on that to drive console sales. Maybe it does. I don't know. But it's a bummer because we used to get first-party releases, one in the spring, one in the fall, from their first-party studios. And now we're not getting it. Wolverine, there's rumors of it possibly being late next year. I would put a good chunk of change on it being 2025. They just put out Spider-Man 2. I think they take 2 years with the whole team to work on it. That makes sense to me. 8K just seems unnecessary. 8K, the only way like your human eye would be able to see the benefit. Let's see. So this is from Sony. They make some very good TVs. Let's see. Recommended minimum distance for viewing 4K and 8K TVs is 1.5 times of the TV vertical screen size. Okay, the vertical, not the diagonal. Viewing from this distance, individual pixels cannot be differentiated by naked eyes. This means that pixels effectively disappear when viewing 4K images. It creates the impression of watching TV pictures with the same detail and resolution as real life. Basically, it's like Apple's thing with the Retina display, where at regular viewing distances, you shouldn't be able to make out individual pixels, but if you get closer, you can still see them. So they say for an 85-inch, this is for... Okay, so this is for 4K or 8K. They're not actually differentiating the two of them. But I guess in theory, because this is 4 times the density of pixels, it would be half the distance. So for an 85-inch TV, you could sit 5 feet away and still not actually see any pixels. Like 8K is useful if you have a screen the size of like a football field. And then you can sit 10 feet off of it and not see any pixels, which is awesome. But, okay, that's probably a slight exaggeration. But, like, 8K is ridiculous. Like, there's very, very little reason to use 8K for anything other than, like, big commercial film set, you know, situations. Or movie theaters, IMAX, that kind of thing. There's very little reason to do 8K anything. If that becomes the next push, that's going to be so stupid. It'd be like the stupidest thing they could do. It'd be so dumb. Yeah, Sony, LG, and Samsung have the best TVs in the market. Yeah, they're typically considered the best. The standard breakdown is that Sony has the best displays for cinephiles, people that want it as accurate in terms of color as possible. But LG is the best for like your average consumer because their software is way better. Their user experience is just way, way better. So for most people, LG will offer a better overall experience, even though Sony TVs are technically more accurate. And then Samsung are considered like the entry-level luxury TV. And that's typically because they are very bright displays. They're super vivid. They have pretty good software, but their color accuracy is pretty horrendous. They have a couple new luxury models. I forget what it's called, but it's like the 980B or something like that. And or the S7, I don't know. I could Google it, but they have some new luxury models that are micro LED backed instead of like they get the benefit of LED and OLED tech at the same time. So the brightness of an LED with the contrast of an OLED. So some of Samsung's newest stuff is very, very good and probably even beats out some of the Sony TVs if calibrated correctly. Out of the box, it's still Sony, but at the very least, Samsung, if it's calibrated by a professional, you could get it looking top of the market, I think. Oh, okay. I'll just throw my 75-inch Samsung in the trash. Yeah. Can confirm I have a large LG TV for gaming on my PC setup and a Sony high-end for watching films in the living room. Yeah. And that's the benefit of it. I mean, I used to sell luxury TVs, to clients who were building like $20, $30, $40, $50,000 home theaters. And that company OtterBox, they make all those phone cases and stuff. OtterBox is based in Fort Collins, which is like my hometown. And OtterBox, their CEO came to the company I was working for to design his home theater. And I mean, it was just like outrageous. I think the grand total for everything ended up being like $200,000. They brought in the big corporate guys. They did all that stuff. It was madness, but yeah, it's good. Thoughts on short throw projectors? I actually have an ultra short throw projector from Hisense. It's 110 inch. It's up in the theater room, and that thing is great. That thing slaps. It's like 120 hertz, 4K, ultra short throw, so it doesn't even look like a projector. The one thing with projectors is just ambient light. Even if you get like an ambient light reflecting screen with the proper like zigzag pattern on it to reflect ambient light, you're still going to have a lot of blowout. So just be ready for that. Only do a short throw projector, even if it's a laser one, if you have like a very dark room, basically. If there's ambient light, it's going to blow it out. Yeah. Do you think Sony originally planned for Factions 2 to be the spring release, but since the On Ice thing, they have nothing available now? Think we'll see anything from Naughty Dog at the Game Awards? Maybe we see a trailer, but apparently it's just like it's actually on ice. They're redesigning huge chunks of it and stuff. So who knows? I think a trailer would be great just so we know that they're not just sitting on their hands doing nothing. But I don't expect to see anything from Naughty Dog at the Game Awards, unfortunately. Maybe Santa Monica. Maybe we see the trailer for the Atreus game spin-off thing that they were, I'm guessing they're working on. But we'll see. We'll see. I think they got to show some stuff because right now it feels like the slate for first-party exclusives. We know people are working on stuff. We know teams are working on stuff, but there's not a whole lot going on. And there were some rumors that came out over the weekend, apparently, that a bunch of people that work within some of these big studios have said that Sony executives have reached out to them. And again, this is all just alleged. It's not confirmed as far as I'm aware. But there's allegedly people saying that they've had Sony executives, Jim Ryan types, come in over the last year or so and tell them that they need to do a live service game or a games as a service title when they're single party or single player first party studios. So that to me suggests that we probably are seeing like everybody from Naughty Dog, which we know for a fact is doing this. Maybe even Santa Monica is being approached and told they have to do a games as a service title. And if that's the case, I mean, that just really blows. It's so stupid if that's what's actually happening. But we know for a fact that they are trying to double up and force some of these big teams that are known for single player stuff to do live service games. I want to know what Sucker Punch is doing. Yeah, for real, dude. I'm starting to think that Sony bought Bungie to be financial advisors instead of devs. Well, but now they're downsizing Bungie too, and so it's like, is Bungie having troubles with Destiny? Are they running into troubles? I don't know. Luke, do you agree if any game deserves a remaster or sequel, it's LA Noire? It literally still holds up in 2023. I don't know how you remaster it, frankly, because of the way they did the facial capture. I think it either needs to be remade, like Mafia Definitive Edition, or a sequel. And I would be ecstatic if it got either of those. Like, talk about it. Like, I was complaining earlier about Alan Wake 2's bizarrely stupid detective system, which isn't a detective system. It's a story recap system. That's all it is. There's no way to like make false conclusions or to lead the story in different pathways based on how you connect the dots. Every clue can only fit in one spot. That's it. Like, it's not a detective system. It just isn't. And LA Noire is the perfect example of when you actually do have this working, because they had a way that you could investigate different people. Depending on how your interrogation of one target went, it could totally alter how the case played out. And then you could arrest somebody, you could let them get away, things could play out differently. And that was it. Like, oh, you arrested this person. Did they do it? Maybe. Maybe. But sometimes you didn't really know for a fact. And I love that. I love it. I still can't believe the follow-ups for LA Noire were never made. That game was amazing. I understand why some people don't like it. I totally get that. To be clear, Rango, I don't think you are wrong for not liking it. It is a very different kind of game that's not for everybody, absolutely. But yeah, it's for some people like me. It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But for whatever reason, Team Bondi, it seems like they were just a very expensive studio. LA Noire, I think, did well, but I don't think it was like a overwhelming success. And they started working on a sequel to it, but that got canned pretty quickly, and then the team died out, unfortunately. I thought I was a detective genius until I saw I got 1 out of 6 interrogations correct. I'm so good at this. Fallout New Vegas needs a remake? Yeah. I hope that they're not just going to do like, I mean, okay, I wouldn't complain that much if they did a remaster of New Vegas and just got it running well, because it's still really buggy and problematic if you don't have like 15 mods. So a remaster I would be still happy with. A remake would be amazing though. Like that Fallout 4 New Vegas, that remake they're doing in the Fallout 4 engine, that would be awesome. You know. Oh, Killer Clowns. Oh yeah, that can't, I don't think they've said. And if it's not out by now for Halloween, I would guess they wait a year. You have the original one with 4 discs? Yeah, I have it somewhere. Is it? It's not in that stack behind me. It's not one of those. So it's got to be in one of the boxes upstairs. But yeah, I do have it. Dev, so I want a Spider-Man 2 movie game remaster. Never going to happen, but I can dream. That's a deep cut. That's very specific. That's funny. You either have tastes or you don't, and people who dislike LA Noire have no taste. I trust in modders more than Bethesda to finish the remakes, unfortunately. Honestly, I feel that. Unfortunately, I can't see Rockstar doing anything other than GTA. Sad, forever waiting for a Blaze sequel. Well, and the difference is that it wasn't Rockstar that made LA Noire. It was Team Bondi, but Team Bondi was closed because Rockstar used to publish games. So they used to like take games from another studio and then publish it under the Rockstar banner, making sure that the games kind of played like other Rockstar games and lived up to that quality standard. And then they stopped doing that pretty much entirely. And now all they do is like Red Dead, GTA, that's it. And hopefully they try a new IP. Hopefully they do something else. But it's a big bummer. Like, I don't know if it was just overly expensive or if it was too much of a headache or something. But I think if they started publishing stuff under the Rockstar banner again, those would be guaranteed successes, you know? But Take-Two and Rockstar, they're a very weird company. It's kind of like Nintendo, where everybody agrees the management is like borderline evil and super toxic in how they price things, how they treat people. Like, they're just horrible. But everybody loves the games, so we kind of put up with it. You know, like the way Nintendo treats creators or people like modders who are trying to preserve older games and fix them. The way they get treated is horrible. And the way Take-Two treats everybody with their monetization schemes and their predatory like gambling systems and their sports games and everything is horrible. But they make these games that we really like, so we kind of forget about it. You know? Yeah, man, don't even say Rockstar pirate game. I would lose it. Like, if that ever happens, that's the day when I'm just going to keel over in my chair and have a heart attack because I won't know what to do. That's a dream come true. That or Naughty Dog doing a pirate game. I'll say it again. A dark, gritty, narrative, cinematic, okay, pirate game set in the golden age of piracy, telling a story centered around Anne Bonny and her crew, I think would be phenomenal. And just imagine like a Naughty Dog doing that, or a Santa Monica studio doing it, or a Rockstar. Like, I cannot even begin to imagine how amazing that would be with that level of production value and polish. Oh my God. Yeah. Oh, Drizzy, I'm live on both, baby. Twitch changed their policy and they allow co-streaming now. Black Sails, the game. Oh, they were working on that Pirates of the Caribbean game. We did a video on it a little while ago, kind of revisiting it, and they were working on it, but yeah, those things were crazy. I wish that had seen the light of day, but it got canceled like a few months before it was scheduled to be launched. Okay, but honestly, if they didn't have Rockstar, Take-Two wouldn't have that much value anymore compared to the breadth of quality titles Nintendo puts out. Yeah, a lot of it is also the sports games. Their NBA stuff prints money. That's the other thing. Like, we often forget that these sports games are freaking huge. Like, the number of people that engage with these sports games, millions and millions and millions of people every year, and that's all they really play. Like, there's some people where all they play is 2K. Like, that's all they play. That's their game. It's wild, but it happens. Yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean MMO. Oh yeah, dude, that Disney's butchering of the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise is something I will never forgive them for. I love the Pirates of the Caribbean, and I feel like they have just totally blown it. Partially with how they treated Johnny, and then also how they treated like the recent movies, and oh my God, they just butchered it. What a waste. What an absolute waste. Yeah, ignore 4 and 5. But the first 3 are great. Yeah. Let's see. The question is, how much is Take-Two pocketing with all the microtransactions and monetization versus putting the money into making a good game? Well, that's the problem, is that you can, for a lot of these big companies, like, they can print money with these sports games, and the sports games happen to be extremely low effort. It's the same game every year, just with a new roster, and people will pay it. And people will also sit through ads that play in the game while you're playing. And then they'll also go and engage with like microtransactions to play or pay for like card kits and card packs in the game. Like, it's crazy how monetized those games are, and they require such little effort. And that's kind of been the story, unfortunately, in the last handful of years, is that these executives see that with, say, 2K or with Destiny or any of these other games, and they think that you can just copy and paste it and do it again in another franchise with another developer and find that same type of success. And you just can't. Like, single player gamers do not tolerate that stuff, but these executives seem wholly unaware of that. They think that you can take people who love The Last of Us and then just give them 2K The Last of Us. You know? And you can't. The gamers are not the same, and they don't tolerate the same stuff, but they honestly think that you can just swap it over and it'll be the same, you know? It's asinine. Serious question, are you gonna play the Assassin's Creed VR game? Yeah, we'll try it. I mean, it's gonna be funny and I'm gonna puke my brains out, but yeah, I'll try it. Apparently, Craig Mazin is writing a new Pirates of the Caribbean film. No way, really? Yeah, he's the showrunner for The Last of Us. He did Chernobyl. He knows what he's doing. I'm down for that. I'm down for that. Yeah, puke stream, here we go. Pirates of the Jim Carrey? That actually would be kind of good. Can you imagine a Jim Carrey appearance in Pirates of the Caribbean, and he's like a super eccentric pirate who's just clearly had no vitamin C, whatever gives you scurvy. I think it's vitamin C. He's got full-on scurvy and he's just insane. I would love that, dude. That would be incredible. Alrighty then. Let's board. Like, it would be so great. Now I'm bummed this isn't a thing. What? Come on. Like, what happened? Oh God. Oh, that's funny. Jamal Timmons, thank you for the 20. That's very generous, my friend. Thank you so much. That's super generous. Thank you. Oh, I wonder, hold on. Midjourney / imagine Jim Carrey as a pirate in the Pirates of the Caribbean films. Film still screenshot. No, I'll do 8K IMAX. We'll put that in there as a tag too. Okay, I'm gonna let Midjourney try to produce that. We're gonna see what it spits out. We're gonna see how it does it. What happened to the iPhone 15 Pro gaming video? I'm waiting for the games to come out. That's once they come out, I'll do it. But I don't have access to any of it. What happened to South Park? It's on Paramount Plus only? Yeah, remember they signed a $100 million deal. Like $100 million. It wasn't for like a crazy, I think it was like 6 seasons or something like that. But yeah, they signed a huge deal with Paramount. And I saw they're rebooting Ink Master. And I'm here for that. Oh my God. It didn't do that good of a job. This one, I can kind of see it. I can kind of see some Johnny Depp-ness. But yeah, I mean, imagine a Jim Carrey pirate just showing up in a Pirates of the Caribbean film. Oh, dude. Just as a super... Imagine him playing off of Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, too. Imagine that. Top left is Willem Dafoe. Kinda. Yeah, I can see that. This guy's just, like, too handsome. This is, like... I don't know. That's Henry Cavill as a pirate. This is the only one that looks slightly like Jim Carrey. I wonder how games on the 15 Pro will actually play. From what I've heard, they're like low settings, but they run surprisingly well. And apparently this event, I was going to try to co-stream it, but we all know how co-streaming Apple events goes. And then also it doesn't happen till 6 tonight. So it's like still 4.5 hours away. But Apple has a big event planned for tonight focused on some Mac stuff. And apparently they have a bunch of segments focused on gaming on Mac and Apple devices. So apparently Apple's making a pretty heavy push into the gaming space, which could be really interesting. I mean, you could start to see Apple paying for timed exclusivity of games and stuff. I know that sounds crazy, but if it's a matter of money, guess what Apple basically has unlimited stockpiles of? Cash money, baby. Cash money. If they want to really launch a gaming platform, make the App Store a competitor to Steam, which is crazy to think that they'd even try that, but it's Apple. They're going to try it. They're sitting on like $130 billion of cash. Like, you thought Epic was aggressive buying up exclusives. Just wait until Apple starts doing it. Like, good God almighty. Like, I can't even describe how aggressive they'd be. And it would be, yeah, this would be my worst nightmare. Yeah, I think you could unironically see Apple cozying up to like Kojima and making one of his games exclusive. And I don't know how that works. Like, do people actually go out and then buy a Mac to play that? Like, how does that work? I honestly have no idea. Like, it would be crazy. It would be a huge change to how the industry works. But I think you'll probably start to see, I think you'll start to see a lot of studios and publishers bringing games to the Mac. I think you'll see Ubisoft start to bring stuff to Mac day one. I think a lot of big publishers are going to do it. Apple's going to give them a nice juicy cut. Well, Apple blew all that money on that goofy headset. It will just lose the money into a black hole. They think might make something in the future. I think what I'm going to do is we're going to get that headset, the Vision Pro, and I'm going to make like a video. I tried gaming on the Vision Pro, and then I'm going to return that thing because there's no way I'm letting that just collect dust. It's one of those things you're going to use for like an hour and then never touch again. You know, like it's going to be a joke. But we'll see. I mean, they've spent billions developing it. So who knows? Maybe it is magical and it's amazing and it'll change the world. I'm not convinced though. I'm not convinced. GTA 6 Apple exclusive confirmed. Yeah. Mr. Rav is, I'm getting a MacBook Pro for my workplace soon. Hope that they release the M3 so I can get that one for work. Yeah. Apparently it's going to be announced tonight. That's what they're saying, at least. Did anyone else think the Vision Pro looks like a pair of scuba goggles? Kinda. Yeah. Bro, you skeptic. Nuh-uh. Bro, you seem a little too skeptical about some of this stuff. I'll tell you what right now. I'll tell you what. What if Apple sold their only graphics cards? Well, Apple's thing, like, again, I'm not a techie, like I'm not a software engineer. I don't claim to understand all this stuff, but the people that do understand it have said that like the M2 chips, the Apple silicon running natively on their hardware is ridiculous. Like the power draws are super low. They're super efficient and they're super powerful too. And that's why it makes sense for them to move into like gaming, especially on the iPhone. Everybody was thinking, do they try to compete with like a Steam Deck? Do they try to compete with the Nintendo Switch or gaming consoles? And the answer's been in front of us the whole time. No, they already sell extremely capable hardware with displays built in that you can pair with like a controller mount that holds it. It's like, this is all you really need to do. They just need to get this to the point where it's able to play those games. And it seems like they've done it because they're able to play, allegedly, games like Resident Evil 4 Remake, games like Mirage and Death Stranding running natively on this hardware. So if that's the case, problem solved. They just have to find a way to market it and push it, which I think they're going to do it. What, do you all not have phones? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Apple acquiring anything sounds miserable, to be honest. I just think Apple is seeing Microsoft double down on gaming, and I think they're realizing that gaming is a huge market that they've barely tapped into, and they're realizing that maybe they should try their hand at that. And it makes sense. They have so much money that they could get in it and be very, very competitive, but they just, for whatever reason, have not done it. They've instead spent billions developing a headset that seemingly nobody wants, when they should, in my mind, have been working on getting games built in the Mac ecosystem. You know? Clawstruck Wizard, thank you for the one. Appreciate you, my friend. What about the Apple Car? Isn't the Apple Car still like, they're messing around with it, but nobody thinks they're actually doing it? I thought that wasn't even like a real thing. It was just people saying, yeah, they're working on a car. And there's been like, there's been like rumors of it for years and stuff, but who knows if they're actually like gonna release it. This is from Mac Rumors. So they're focusing on building a fully autonomous car. Physical car projects still in the works. Deep integration with iOS. Sub $100,000 price point is a target. Apple designed chip. Traditional vehicle. Limited self-driving capabilities. Hundreds of Apple employees are working on developing a self-driving Apple branded car aimed at consumers. So they say Apple branded. Does that mean that they aren't going to manufacture it? Like they'll partner with Mercedes or someone to build it? Interesting. Apple's AI and machine learning chief, John Giander, I don't know, is heading up the Apple Car project, and Kevin Lynch, known for his work on the Apple Watch, has joined the car team. Okay. In 2017, Tim Cook spoke on it. We're focused on autonomous systems. It's a core technology we view as very important, but we sort of see it as the mother of all AI projects. It's probably one of the most difficult AI projects actually to work on. Since early 2017, they've been testing self-driving vehicles on public roads in California using several 2015 Lexus RX 450h SUVs leased from Hertz. They lease them? They don't even buy them? What? The SUVs have been spotted on the streets of Cupertino, Jesus. Host of sensors and cameras as Apple prepares its self-driving software, and testing has ramped up over the years. Apple has more than 60 test vehicles on the road. I mean, I would imagine this is one of those things that when they launch it, it's going to be the final product, and like they're not going to release, they're going to partner with Hyundai? Is that the point? Based on Hyundai's eGMP Electra BEV platform. Okay. That makes sense. Kind of like what they did with the credit card. When they did the Apple Card, they partnered with Goldman Sachs to do it. But it seems like whenever they decide to do it, they want it to be awesome. Like they want it to be fully functional, self-driving. They want it to be the car of the future. Yeah. Apple is said to be aiming to release an Apple Car aimed at consumers in 2026. Okay, that's way sooner than I thought. With testing on the vehicle to begin in 2025, timelines have been pushed back several times due to development issues. Shocker. so it's still up in the air. In September of this year, Apple analyst Ming-Chi Kuo said that work on the Apple Car has, quote, lost all visibility, end quote, and that if Apple does not adopt a strategy to make inroads in the automotive market, it is unlikely we will see an Apple Car within the next years. I don't know. I'll believe it when I see it. I'm sure they work on all sorts of this stuff all the time, but I mean, it never sees the light of day. Who knows? Yeah, the Apple Car South Park episode. Yeah, I don't even know. Yeah. Sakatober, good to see you, my friend. Glad you came by. Yeah, again, shout out to everybody watching on YouTube and on Twitch. The co-streaming's good. I'm liking it. I do think I gotta pivot off of Streamlabs and go back to regular OBS, and we'll just use Restream or something, because Streamlabs is all over the place with dropping frames and stuff. Is it weird that Cyberpunk 2077 freaks me out a little bit with the future of AI and tech? I mean, it's a very possible future, I'll be real. Lol, somebody said fix Apple Maps first. Well, and you better believe, like, Apple's whole strategy is to build an ecosystem you get sucked into, and so you can't leave. So you're kind of stuck buying more and more of their products. And it's a great strategy. It works wonders. And just imagine if your car is part of that ecosystem. So your very vehicle depends on Siri, depends on the Apple Watch, depends on your iPhone, all of that stuff. I mean, it would be cool because, like, if you're on your Mac, send directions to the car, and then it sends it. And so when you hop in the car, start it, you just press the button on the screen, and it resumes those directions. Like, granted, you can do that on your phone, but to tie it directly into the car could be cool. Like, there's all sorts of little things they could do to make it cool, you know, where you could ask Siri to, like, hey, start my car and set the AC to 70 degrees or whatever, and let it do its thing, you know? I can see the vision. It's just a lot more complicated than that. Because as Tesla has showcased, it's not that easy. But if they partner with somebody else to manufacture the cars and Apple just handles software and stuff, that could work. Need a subscription to drive? Yeah, I wouldn't put it past them. Yeah. Second tuber, are you in the new house? Yes. Yeah, this is new house, new studio. Yeah, Todd's in the background watching over us always. Siri goes rogue and starts running down Android users. Yeah. I have been programmed to overcome all problematic individuals. Today is the day. Would you still get charged with drunk driving in an automated car? That one I honestly am not sure about. That's why, like, when self-driving cars become a thing, it will totally change a lot. Like, laws will have to change, because it's like, if it's a fully autonomous car and you're intoxicated, if it drives you and you never touch the controls of the vehicle other than telling it, take me home, like, is that still not allowed? Or do you, like, if it's fully autonomous and it's just like a Delamain in Cyberpunk, are those, like, do those rules still apply? You know, there's all sorts of interesting things that could tie into it. Do you see BMW has a subscription for heated car seats? Yeah, that, and isn't it also like they have speed limits? Like, they cap out the speed unless you pay for the upgrade. Like, I think there's a lot of weird stuff that BMW has gotten away with. I don't know why people love on BMW so much. I know somebody that, like, is very involved in the car market. They moved from, like, real estate brokerage and moved into car stuff. Like, I don't understand it, honestly. But he's, like, one of the guys that sells cars between dealerships or something. And his thing is that he says don't touch BMWs. He's like, they will break so quickly. He's like, they have some of the worst consistent user scores and then repairability scores, and they're expensive, and I don't know. It could be just bias. He's not a big fan of it. Who knows? You absolutely would. It's the same reason you can't be on your phone while you're in a Tesla or whatever. Well, that's because, like, those aren't full self-driving right now. They're technically, like, whatever. I don't remember the categories, but What Teslas are now is not full self-driving. They can like control on the highways. They can steer you off exits. They can stop at red lights and navigate a lot of city streets. But it's not classified by the government as fully autonomous driving. The question is, once you get there, again, think Delamain in Cyberpunk 2077. The idea is that you hop in the back seat and it does everything from start to finish, right? There's no needing to have your hand on the wheel. There's no needing to press a button or twist it slightly to make sure you're still in control. It's not in need of scanning your eyes to make sure it's on the road. It does absolutely everything. At that point, rules do have to change, I think. There will never be a day where at least some sort of manual control isn't part of a car. I think that they'll probably have, I mean, I think they'll always sell cars that can be manually controlled, to be clear. But I also fully envision like cars where it's just kind of like almost like a pod that you hop in and there's almost no user input. It's just like it shows up and then you hop in and it handles all of the driving and takes you to your location. I would bet money we see that within probably a decade. You'll start to see cabs, maybe even Uber jumps into it like that. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Who needs a back seat when nobody's up front? Dude, that just broke my brain. I'd be surprised if the insurance industry allowed liability to be taken off the driver. Yeah, I mean, but that's another thing is when they say that this would shake up the entire automotive industry, they're not joking. Like, it changes everything from insurance to the laws related to it, you know, and then even just something as simple, and we've already run into this with some lawsuits that have come out during self-driving operation where like somebody I think tried to sue for wrongful death or for injuries or something. They tried to sue the driver of a Tesla for that, even though the self-driving is what caused the accident. So is Tesla liable or is the driver liable? And it creates this really interesting thing. I think they cited that the driver was actually liable because he still has the manual override control. But once you're at the point where it's true self-driving, fully autonomous, and the driver is not required to do any inputs at all, how does that change? You know, is it just, oh, well, the robot decided that you were the safer target or something? Like, how does that happen? Let's see if the light comes down and cracks my head open again. Yeah, the laws aren't defined yet, which is why it would all have to change. The car we're leasing right now will have to be changed next summer. We want pure electric, so it has to be between Model 3 or Model Y for us. I want to try Tesla this time, so don't know what model we want yet. Yeah, the Model Y I've seen is nice just because it's a little roomier. But it's better, definitely better if you have a family. You got to get kids in and out and stuff. Same with the Model X, if you can afford that. The Model X slaps. The company of said cars should be responsible. Yeah, I think it would get really messy. I think it could be interesting. But if the liability is taken off the driver, it'll be put on the manufacturer, so cost of cars will go up 10x. Well, but you'll also have, I mean, if this stuff is regulated by lawmakers, you'll have the manufacturers of those cars. So you'll have BMW or Apple or Tesla. Their lawyers will be going to lawmakers and they'll be lobbying and being like, hey, Mr. Senator, we really think that you should reconsider this policy change. I don't think we should be liable. I think the person who owns the car should be liable, even if our software is at fault. Like, you're going to see all sorts of craziness happen. Like, it's going to be a lot. You have the Model 3, Joy? Oh, awesome. I've been looking at that. What do you think lawmakers love a little bit more than people? Money. Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. When you see that, like, the salary for, who was it? I think it was Nancy Pelosi or something. Her salary every year is like $250,000 or $280,000, which already is a good chunk of change. But that's not like filthy rich money. That's like top, I think, 1% in America, but not top 1/10 of 1%, right? That's good money, but not overwhelming. And then somehow she went from like 280,000 a year, and now her net worth is 335 million. And it's like, how did that happen? You know, it's like, I don't understand how that happened. That's why I have a 6.4 liter V8 actually driving as a hobby these days. Oh yeah, with like a big freaking tank. I believe it. It's just fun. Could be an insurance thing, like don't buy the car, but buy a subscription of the car that has insurance included. Although if someone else is driving, the other person would be liable. Yeah, it's going to change everything. It will. 3 games in for each. Would you say you prefer the Arkham games or the Spider-Man games? Arkham all the way. But to be fair, I have a huge bias towards Arkham. I think the writing in Arkham games is way better. I like the tone of the Arkham games more because I like the dark, gritty stuff. The modern Spider-Man games are much more, I mean, they're aimed at a younger, broader audience, and that's great. But I just personally, my bias is more towards the Batman stuff. So I love me some Arkham games. Luke, if you could make any game, what's the plot idea? For me, it would be remaking that Rockstar game that gangs fight in New York trains and hoods. I forget what it was called. For me, it's just, like I've said, a game set in the golden age of piracy, playing as Anne Bonny, following her story, developed in a dark, gritty, linear narrative way with Naughty Dog or Rockstar at the helm. That's the dream game. Like, if we can make that happen. Yeah, she has written a number of successful books. You're right. She also has a track record, and to be fair, it's everybody in Congress, Republicans, Democrats, Independent alike. Everybody does it. But they'll sit on committees like the Energy and Planning Committee, whatever it's called. And so they are in hearings, even classified meetings about like oil trades and electric companies that are planning all of these different things that they need lawmaker congressional approval for. And if they get approval, their stock price will skyrocket. And the way the rules work in the US right now is that they have to disclose their trades, but they can disclose their trades after they happen. So Pelosi and all of these other lawmakers will be in those meetings and be like, oh, so we're going to vote this in. The stock's going to skyrocket. So I'm going to go home and I'm going to have my husband or my wife buy shares of this stock. It skyrockets. They disclose it. So they're following the rules as they're written. They're not breaking any laws. But by pretty much every definition, that's insider trading, you know, like by pretty much every definition. So I'm like, nobody's saying that she or anybody else is necessarily breaking the law when they do that. The problem is that we're saying the law should be rewritten to make that not okay, because that's insider trading by like every definition. So it's why, like, shocker, nobody in Congress wants to be the one to propose that law change and to vote for it and actually get it passed, because they make millions off of this special knowledge that they can make trades off of. And so, you know, it's like asking somebody to take a pay cut voluntarily. It's like, it's pretty rare for that to happen. You know? Ninja Orange, thank you for the $4.99. That's very generous. Thank you. What do you like better, Xbox, PlayStation, or Nintendo? I mean, I like them each for different reasons. Nintendo has that good old childhood wonder that they capture. And they also have really polished games, usually, except for Pokemon recently. But I like Nintendo a lot. Xbox, I think, is starting to figure it out. My problem with Xbox is they just don't have consistently great games. They'll have a great game, and then they'll have 3 or 4 mediocre games, and then a flop tossed in there too. And then they come out with an awesome game, and then a bunch of mediocre, and then flop. And I like Sony and PlayStation because they are able, from their first party studios, to put out consistently games that are in the top 3 within the year. Like, if Santa Monica Studios putting something out, it's probably nominated for Game of the Year, probably even a serious contender, if not the front runner for winning. And same with Naughty Dog, same with a lot of these different studios that they own. So I can appreciate Sony for that. I would say in terms of which console I use more frequently, I definitely use my PlayStation 5s the most out of everything. But it's also because I have a PC, and if there's a game on Game Pass, I'll just play it on PC through the app. So, you know, it's not really a fair comparison. I'd like to use my Switch more, but there's not really many things out for it right now. And it's pretty outdated at this point compared to other things. Like, if a game launches on the Switch and also other places, you better believe I'm not buying it on the Switch if I can help it. The new Mario's great. Yeah, I've not tried that yet. I've heard very good things about it, though. I need to do that. Need to play it. Let's see. Do you have a Steam Deck? I do have a Steam Deck, and I have the ROG Ally. I love me the Ally. It's like twice as powerful as the Steam Deck. So recently I haven't really been using the Steam Deck. Not because I don't want to, it's just the Ally is just a more powerful thing. Legion Go. The Legion Go, I think, it looks really cool. I don't know if it's worth me personally upgrading, just because I don't know what I'm going to do with the detachable controllers. Like, that to me is kind of a useless feature. And I saw today, apparently natively, it uses a vertical display. It's like a display that was used initially for tablets that was repurposed for use in the Legion Go, which doesn't sound like a big deal, but basically when you do like firmware updates, it'll be portrait instead of horizontal. And that's apparently a problem according to software engineers because it's on the firmware level. So the display itself is built that way, and the firmware for the display treats it vertically first, not horizontal. And that allegedly, according to, again, people way smarter than me that know a lot more about this, they've said that will cause all sorts of games to break on the Legion Go unless they specifically get like a wrapper for the executable file to basically rotate the display and override the default parameters for it. Because when games launch, they'll just initially look at the display, especially when they're put in full screen mode, and they'll try to match whatever the firmware for the display says. And if it says it's a vertical display, you're going to have games that are trying to play in vertical mode sideways on your handheld. So you're like turning your head, and it's going to cause issues. So apparently there's concerns with it from people that know what they're doing. Can you play Game Pass natively on an ROG Ally? Yes, you can, because it's a Windows device. It's not a Linux-based thing like the Steam Deck. So you can just download Game Pass directly on it, which is awesome. My favorite is Nintendo because of the creativity. They always seem to make the trends instead of following the trends. Yeah, and that's one thing you got to give them credit for. Everybody else is doing the same thing, and then they come out here and just do something wild and insane. And it's like after it happens, you're like, why didn't no one think of that? That was amazing. Somehow we didn't think of that. But they come out and make it look easy. You know, it's great. Well, everybody, I am starting to lose my voice. You can probably hear it. So I think we'll call this here. We've had a joyous time, a wonderful stream. I appreciate every single one of you. First co-stream, I think, went well, and I enjoyed it. Being able to bounce between chats with everybody was good. And next stream, probably on Wednesday, we will try to get all of these like frame drops and weird things fixed, because I think we're going to stop using Streamlabs. We'll go back to regular OBS, and I'll just use Restream.io or something. But anyway, happy Halloween, everybody. Have a wonderful, wonderful time tomorrow. Much love. Thank you to everybody who was freakishly generous today. I mean, seriously, the tips and super chats and memberships and subs and everything was super generous. You guys are crazy. So I don't know what I did to do that or trigger that, but either way, thank you. You guys are extremely generous. Stay safe. Much love. I'll see you in the next one. Hugs and kisses.
Bye-bye.